southern part of the province. B&A Petroleum is available for all your bulk fuel and lubricant needs, with propane at selected locations Monday to Friday. And don't forget, their Cardlock location is accessible 24 hours for your convenience. B&A Petroleum. Fuel you once, fuel you forever.
The certified pre-owned vehicle demand is high and our supply is low. We need your trade-in at Capital GMC. We have 180 certified pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Be sure to check out employee pricing on all pre-owned vehicles, with rates as low as 4.99 for up to 60 months on select GM certified vehicles. And a great selection, plus 150 plus point inspection and roadside assistance. Capital GMC is the GM certified pre-owned vehicle destination at the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua in Regina, where we go the extra mile and so do our vehicles.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rnpchevrolet.com today. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
And the Sports Cage brought to you by RMP, the best General Motors vehicles you'll find anywhere in southern Saskatchewan. Don Hewitt filling in for Barney. Barney will be back on Sports Cage tomorrow, likely with his crazy and wild sidekick Sharky. Barney will also be back in the big chair for Friday night, and of course the big game with the Roughriders and the Elks. We've got a great show prepared for you, so sit back and relax and watch or listen to it because our guests are second to none. We're going to start off with, well, he was a sports writing legend here in Regina, many years at the Regina Leader-Post, as well as the editor of the sports department, Greg Drinnan. He's coming in from Kamloops to talk about one of his newer ventures. The voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas, will join us at 3:30, and he'll go over everything that's the latest with the Roughriders on the practice field. They're actually outside today, and he's going to explain some of the rules for that a little later. Brad Howard, of course, he's been in hockey officiating for decades, as well as a hockey administrator in the officiating end. He's going into the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame on Saturday. Brad will be joining us to talk about his career. A very interesting individual, to say the least. Farhan Laji of TSN, he's down in Los Angeles scouting the NFL training camp, so he's going to update us on the NFL, and we'll talk CFL. 5:05, Rob Vanstone will be along to talk about what a great season Trevor Harris is having. And about 5:10, Rob's going to stay with me as we interview another individual who's going into the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame, Barry Trapp. Boy, that's going to be fun to talk to Barry. 62 years in hockey. Barry Trapp, 62 years. Some people don't live that long. And, he's been, believe it or not, in the game. And he started early with the Pats and even ended his career with the Pats and a whole pile of things in between. Now, Greg Drinnan, well, he's a legendary hockey writer, particularly in Western Canada, for well over 40 years. He was the sports editor of the Regina Leader-Post and Kamloops Daily News, among a large pile of other ventures and responsibilities in the newspaper business. He co-authored the book Sudden Death, the incredible saga of the 1986 Swift Current Broncos. Greg wrote the most detailed blog of all time in junior hockey called Taking Note for decades. He's been honored by the Western Hockey League, and he's now the editor-historian of the Western Canada Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation, who are holding a big event right here in Regina on September 30th. We'll be talking to Greg about that very shortly. If you look for Greg on the internet, you'll see his undying support for the Ukraine. The Western Canada Pro Hockey Scouts Foundation is holding its second annual Wall of Fame induction dinner in Okotoks on July 29th. Let's go now to Kamloops. And Greg, you have an absolutely unmatched interest in junior hockey, the likes that I have never seen. So how did your love for junior hockey all begin?
Well, I guess you'd have to go back to the 70s. Um, I actually started in the journalism business at the Brandon Sun in the early '70s. But a guy by the name of Bruce Penton was covering the Wheat Kings at that time. And I got hired there as they decided to go from a 2-man staff to a 3-man staff. So I was there 2 years, and then I got a call from Jack Matheson, the legendary sports editor of the Winnipeg Tribune, and he offered me a job. So I went into Winnipeg, spent 5 years at the Tribune, and in the winters, one of my beats was the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, and I got to do a bit of the Western League with the Monarchs and the clubs. They were pretty much cellar dwellers there.
Oh, yes. Remember those.
And then I got I had a friend who was a sports editor at the Brandon Sun at the time, and he was looking for someone to cover the Wheat Kings starting in the fall of '78. Well, that was the Prop, Ellison, Boschman, McCrimmon team.
Oh, yeah.
That, I think they lost 5 regular season games all year.
Yeah.
So I went back to Brandon strictly to cover that. And that was really when I really came to enjoy covering junior hockey. And it was the thing I learned was that it was more than the hockey. It was the people. It was the hockey people. And I really enjoyed being around hockey people, hockey scouts, all that kind of thing. So, and it just went on from there. And, I spent 5 years doing that. And then I was in Regina for 17 years and came here in 2000. As hard as it is to believe, I've been here 25 years, although only working till, when was it? January 2014, which was when the paper here folded. So I've been pretty much retired since then.
Well, you weren't really retired when you were reading, taking note, and all the work you put into that with your love of hockey. I just wanted to go back to that Brandon team that was so good with Brian Propp and all the other star players that ended up going in the NHL. The Pats were at the bottom of the league at that time when Brandon was so good. And I can remember a game, Greg, in the old Agrodome, now called the Brand Center, when, I don't know, it was like 11-1 for Brandon in the third period or something like that. And Brian Propp had a breakaway from center ice and decided not to shoot. He just circled, sort of mocking the Pats, just circled around, didn't bother shooting.
If memory serves, they played 14 times that season, I think. The Pats and the Wheat Kings. And the Pats didn't win any. And some of them were, I seem to remember a 14-goal game, I think. Yeah. And, when I look back at that season, Duncan McCollum was the Wheat Kings head coach. Mm-hmm. He didn't have an assistant coach. When you look at coaching staffs now, with goaltending coaches and video coaches and, on and on and on, it was one head coach and that was it. And a lot of times, Brad McCrimmon, who was mature beyond his years at that time, he would actually run some of the practices. And in those days, it was a much older league. Like there weren't a lot of, if any, very few 16-year-olds. And if you stepped out of line as a younger player, one of the older guys just simply went over and said, "Hey, we don't do that here. We that's not how we operate," and just kept them in line. And that Wheat King team was really something to be around, to get to watch them. How they carried themselves. The whole package.
Oh, tremendous! I couldn't believe they didn't win the Memorial Cup. I believe they lost the Memorial Cup final.
I would suggest they lost the Memorial Cup at a game in Regina when a defenseman, it was one of those games where some of the WHL players got together to play some Russians. And Wheat King defenseman by the name of Mike Perovich came out of that with a broken wrist. And he was likely their, behind Brad McCrimmon, he was likely their number 2 defenseman, maybe number 3. And they really had a hard time distributing his minutes, and Brad McCrimmon. It's gotten to be kind of a Memorial Cup myth or legend, if you will, that Brad in the final against Peterborough, the game went into overtime, and that Brad McCrimmon played every minute of the game. And he didn't. He had a couple of shifts off, and there were a couple of penalties. But by the time it got to that stage of the season, he was a mere shell of what he had been during the season. So I really think if it's easy to make excuses, but if Perovich had been healthy, I think the Vikings would have won the Memorial Cup that season.
Right. Well, tell me about the Western Canada Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation. Now, how did you get involved with that group, Greg?
Well, you mentioned my blog, the Taking Note. I had come to the decision that I was going to take a break from it because, as you mentioned, I've been doing it for a long time. So I just decided to shut it down and really take a break, an extended break. I was thinking, 2 or 3 months, and then see how I felt. So that's what I had done. And out of the clear blue one day, I got a phone call from Garth Malarchuk, a longtime Toronto Maple Leafs scout, former WHL head coach. He did a tour of duty in Kelowna after having coached midget and junior A in the Calgary area. Garth was in the process of getting the foundation up and running. It was a dream that a lot of the scouts had, a number of scouts had, and they had finally decided that it was time to quit talking about it. And if they were going to do it, it was, let's see some action, let's get going. So, they were planning their first dinner, if you will, well, first of all, I should say that they were going to have this Wall of Honor, and they needed a home.
Yep.
And they ended up in Okotoks. And you might ask why Okotoks, which is the question I had. And it turns out they inquired of a number of WHL, or a number of arenas that are home to WHL teams, and couldn't find anyone who was at all interested. And then Okotoks surfaced and gave them a warm welcome, opened their arms, the whole bit. So that's how they ended up with the Wall of Honor in Okotoks. And they had their first dinner on September 30th, 2023. So not even 2 years ago. It was a roast of Ron McLean. And if you haven't seen the video of Elliot Friedman roasting Ron McLean, it's on the on our website, and it is something. But that was really the first fundraiser. So that got the seed money to start the Wall of Honor, to purchase the equipment, to set that up in Okotoks. And really what it is a rolling video montage, if you will, that shows portraits of every inductee and a brief bio. But anyway, Garth asked me if I'd be interested in helping them out. And I don't know if he was aware that I had shut down my blog or, really wasn't doing anything. But I said, give me a day to think about it. And I thought about it and said, sure, I'll help. So I'm now, as you suggested, the editor historian, which basically means I write all the news releases, any letters to people or to organizations, NHL teams looking for sponsorship or looking for, any kind of support. I'm the one writing the letters. So that has kept me quite busy because I'm also responsible for some of what goes on the website in terms of when it goes on, when it goes up, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of a background on the foundation. It's nonprofit. Right now we're operating under the Alberta Society Act because we were incorporated in Alberta because of the Okotoks connection. But we have applied for full charity status with Revenue Canada. We expect that, where we hope, we're certainly positive about it, that we'll get that in the next few weeks, because there's a lot more to this than the Wall of Honor. Although the Wall of Honor is a big part of it because of showing respect for all these scouts. But we're also involved in providing financial aid to any present day or former scouts who've encountered health issues. As an example, one scout ended up in Vancouver being treated for leukemia and had some pretty hefty hotel bills with his wife and that. So, we helped out with that. We've helped out Make-A-Wish Foundation. We got a young fellow to a Canucks game, his very first NHL game. We've done a lot of that kind of stuff. So it's really a foundation. There's more to it than the Wall of Honor.
Well, the Western Canada Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation has entered into a promotional agreement with Harvard Media involving the celebration and celebrating Indigenous hockey legends, a banquet that's going to be held in Regina at the Connexus Arts Center September 3rd, which of course is the National Day for Truth and reconciliation. So between June 9th and September 30th, Harvard Media will be recognized as an event sponsor and will provide on-air and online support from its Regina-based radio stations, 620 CKRM Play 92 and 105.9 The Wolf. And that's great. Sportscage is going to be completely behind this foundation that you're working with, Greg, that's for sure. Now, of course, you're on your first Wall of Honor, your second one coming right up here. The first one, you had some big names from southern Saskatchewan. Ross Mahoney, for example. Ross Mahoney reminds me of Bob Turner in some ways, and this is why. Ross walks around town. He doesn't know nobody knows what a bigwig he is in the NHL. Like, he's the assistant general manager. He does a great job on the draft. Got a great stable of young players in the wings for the Capitals. Has won the Stanley Cup. And everybody just thinks he's Ross, doesn't realize he's also got, as you can tell, he's got his fingers in some of their trades as well. You can just tell who they trade for. And yeah, Ross would like that guy. Meanwhile, Bob Turner walked around town and everybody just knew him as the Pats coach. Didn't realize he'd won 5 straight Stanley Cups playing for the Montreal Canadiens. Like Ross is such a humble person, Greg. And he went in.
Bob Turner was my realtor, was our realtor.
That's right.
Here in Regina.
That's right.
I mean, 5 Stanley Cup rings. 5.
No, nobody knew seemed to know about it.
And when people talk about the Montreal Canadiens, you never hear Bob Turner's name mentioned. You know, it's the Richard boys and Cornway and the Mavliches and on and on. And then you say, well, what about Bob Turner? And they'll say, well, what about him? Well, 5 Stanley Cup rings. No. You know, it's amazing. And when I was in Regina, I mean, I wish now that I'd sat down on occasion and chatted with him more than I did about those days with Montreal, because that must have really been something. I mean, 5 Stanley Cups, goodness sakes.
It's never been done before. And John Beliveau, when he was on his book tour in 1995, told me that they wouldn't have won those 5 straight cups without Bob Turner, because he played on a defensive pairing with Harvey. And, of course, Harvey was a rusher and was always going up ice, and Bob was saving his ass, the legendary Doug Harvey. And he said, if it weren't for Bob Turner, I don't think we'd won all those cups.
Well, I think the fact that Bob was there to win 5 Stanley Cups tells you how valuable he was to the team, because they didn't trade him. They recognized that they needed him. And like all teams, successful teams, they need guys like that. They need foot soldiers. But a lot of times with some of those bottom roster players, they just get shuffled in and out. And yet Bob was there for 5 Stanley Cups. It just amazes me.
Now, Barry Trapp's coming on later on this show, because he's going into the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame on Saturday, and one of your old employees, Rob Vanstone, is going to be along to talk to Barry. Barry, how did he pull this off, Greg? Barry Trapp, who was one of your first scouts to go into your Wall of Honor, worked in the hockey business for 62 years, and yet everybody liked him. How can that be possible?
Oh, I know. I know. And on top of that, he worked for Hockey Canada. And there aren't a lot of people who come out of Hockey Canada being highly popular, because it's such they end up in such a polarizing situation. If they don't win gold, whatever team they're involved with doesn't win gold, well, then they don't know what they're doing. And somehow Trapper survived all of that. And like you say, 62 years. And you mentioned his name, and what a great guy.
Yeah, I know.
How's he doing? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny because I sent him, when I saw that, was it yesterday or the day before, I saw that he was going into the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame. I sent him a quick note just to congratulate him, and he emailed me back, and the first thing he said was he's going on a Sportscage. He's going to be on the Sportscage.
Yeah, that's right. About 5'10".
Tell him I said hi.
I will. Okay. And then, again, he went into your first inaugural Wall of Fame. Other individuals well-known in southern Saskatchewan that did as well. Lorne Davis, another sort of... His son was one of your cohorts, and Lorne Davis was an amazing guy. I mean, he was the guy that pounded the table for Grant Fuhrer so hard that Glenn Sather said, "Are you that certain about Grant Fuhrer?" He said, "Yes," and the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. And Lauren was part of the crew that Barry Fraser put together, and uh, for that, what did they win? Four Stanley Cups in
Well, they should
5
have
years.
won 5 and tied Turner, but they remember, what was his name, Smith, Steve Smith, was it? Scored on his own net. And I was happy because the Habs record didn't get broken. Go ahead.
And the funny thing is, one thing that almost all of these scouts have in common, Barry Trapp, Lauren Davis, all of those guys, great storytellers. I mean, you used to go to the Agrodome, the Brand Center now, 7:00 game, be there shortly after 5:00, and be in the scouts room or the scout media room, whatever you want to call it. Because sure as heck, Lauren would be there, and he'd be bringing, he'd have Eddie Chadwick with him, or Ace Bailey, or there'd be one of his longtime buddies there, and the stories would be flowing like fine wine.
Oh, were they ever? They refine them. He told me a story once about Gordie Howe that we could never say on the air, and I couldn't believe it, but it was a great story. Now, others that were in your inaugural Wall of Fame, one that stuck out was a Murray Torchy Shell, because I knew Murray. Now, he's now buried at the RCMP depot because he was a Mountie, but I remember Murray when he was helping out with the Roughriders with equipment. Had no idea about his scouting background. Tell me about Murray Torchy Shell.
So Torchy Shell was one of my favorite. I did all the bios that appear on the Wall of Honor, and his was one of the really fun ones when I stumbled on the information on him. I had met him. I knew him. Was aware of his scouting exploits, but I wasn't aware that he was a big-time sports memorabilia collector. And I wasn't aware that in the offseason, when he was scouting for mostly Central Scouting and some with the Leafs, but in the off-season for hockey, he was an assistant equipment manager with the Roughriders. And that just blew me away, because you look at today's scouts, how many of them would spend their summers up until the start of hockey season working for a football team doing work like that. The other part of Torchy's story, too, is that he was with Central Scouting, and he was, I forget where it was, he was in Ontario visiting his mother, Kingston or Kitchener, one of the places that had an OHL franchise, and he was there to visit her and to scout a game, and darned if he didn't drop dead of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And that kind of blew me away, because he'd had such a neat story up to that point. But there he was on a scouting trip, and I'm sure, the old cliche about, he died doing what he loved to do. So, but no, he was a good one, and I should mention this year, Larry Horning and Brad Horning are two of the inductees going in. So it's really kind of neat that father and son are going in.
And a lot of people don't or realize or maybe remember that Brad, scouted right out of his wheelchair. And his dad, of course, was a scout. And I believe his dad played for the Jets, didn't he? Winnipeg Jets. Yeah. And but Brad was scouting in a wheelchair. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, Mike Smith, who was then the general manager of the Chicago Blackhawks, brought him on board as an intern to start with. And I think in the beginning, he had Brad basically scouting via the internet, more looking for stories or tidbits out of newspapers and stuff like that. But it wasn't long before they had him scouting at, mostly at Pats games, because he was at, I think, almost all the Pats games, or every game that he could get to. Yeah. And definitely did some work for the Blackhawks.
Now, another scout that went into your Wall of Fame was former Pat general manager Del Wilson, who, of course, along with Bob Turner, won a Memorial Cup. He is the GM. Bob Turner is the coach. Del Wilson, I believe he coached, or rather, I believe he managed the Pats while he was scouting for the Montreal Canadiens. Is that correct?
Yes. He scouted for Montreal for 47 years.
Wow.
In this day and age, when a lot of scouts bounce around, 2 years here, 3 years there, 47 years with one organization. I mean, that's just unheard of. And yes, he scouted for Montreal while he was running the Pats, and back then the Pats had a connection back in the day. What were they? C forms that players signed that locked them into an organization.
Before expansion. Yep.
And Dell ended up. He was one of the co-founders of the what now is the Western Hockey League. Mm-hmm. Was in the group that first purchased the Pats. Was their general manager. He pretty much did it all as with the Pats and with the Western Hockey League back then. The WHL's annual top goaltending award is named after Dell Wilson, who I wasn't aware. I should have been, because the trophy was named after him, and I knew that, but I wasn't aware that in his playing days he had been a goaltender. Mm-hmm. And something else I didn't know about him was that he was a scratch golfer. In fact, in I think 1957, he won the Saskatchewan Men's Amateur. Wow. So, that kind of blew me away, because when I got to know Dell a little bit when I was in Regina, I never dreamt that he was a golfer. Never heard anything about him playing golf.
Yeah, I didn't know that myself. Now, I know some people, Clark Gillies said it. He said about, 5-6 years ago, he says, I can't believe the Pats haven't won the Memorial Cup since we won it when Clark was on the team in 1974. But here's the facts. The Memorial Cup is extremely now hard to win, with over 60 teams going at it.
Well, 60 teams plus the host team gets in for free. So, that's right. That just stacks the odds even a little more against a championship team. But with the Western Hockey League teams, I've always felt that with those teams, winning the Western Hockey League is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And they work so hard, play so hard to win the WHL title, that it's really hard to turn it around in a matter of days and get geared up for the next stage, which is the Memorial Cup, especially when you can lose the first game and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point.
It's the round robin, but no, it's been a long time since the Pats won, and again, there's Bob Turner again. One of the neat Bob Turner stories from that 1974 Memorial Cup was player agents were just starting to be a thing, and that Memorial Cup was in Calgary, and a guy by the name of Ellen Eagleson was sniffing around, and apparently Bob Turner claimed that at one stage he'd had his fill of Ellen Eagleson, and he told him Eagleson was in Turner's hotel room, and Bob told him that if he saw him talking to one more of his players, he was going to be throwing him off a balcony.
That sounds like what Bob said.
Yeah,
Alan Eagleson was a smoothie. I met him once. I thought he was the greatest, but as time told later, he wasn't the greatest. Greg, the time has gone by way too fast to have you on this show, and of course, a lot of people will remember you from your glory days at the Leader Post. Thanks for joining us on Sportscage. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Don. It's great to see you again.
Sportscage continues in just a moment.
Rider Nation lives on 620 CKRM. I'm Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Friday is game day as the Riders take on the Edmonton Elks. Countdown to kickoff with Justin Dunk and Tegan Whitkos at 4. The pregame show's at 6, and kickoff with Luke Mullender and I is at 7. Saskatchewan Roughrider football on the Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network is brought to you by the Cooperators, Saskatchewan Party Caucus, and Vaderstad. Stream every moment of Rider football at sportscage.com.
Working with asphalt, sealant, or tar can be a sticky mess. It gets everywhere and on everything. Keep your rollers, truck, and tools clean with environmentally friendly asphalt release agent from Milligan Bio. This grown in Saskatchewan solution is made using locally sourced canola. It's safe for the environment, prevents stick-on asphalt, and reduces buildup that's already there. And you'll use less than other products on the market. Great for all paving situations. Asphalt release agent from Milligan Bio. Get yours today at milliganbio.com.
Souls Harbor Rescue Mission is celebrating its 35th anniversary serving southern Saskatchewan. We'd like to extend a big thank you to all of you for helping provide real answers for real people. We've served over 3 million meals to those in need, over 200,000 hours of addictions programming have been provided, and over 150,000 nights of shelter have been given. Again, thank you. Donate now at shrmsk.com.
Did you know over 1.3 million homeowners call on Reliance for their water heater needs? With over 140,000 five-star online reviews and over 60 years experience, you could say Reliance Heath are water heater experts. Switch to Reliance Heath today. They'll give you $200 plus standard installation is included. For all your hot water needs,
call on Reliance.
Visit waterheaterrentals.com for details. Terms and conditions apply.
Bidding is now open for the timed online farm equipment auction for Ryland Weir and Adam Corrigan of Manor, Saskatchewan. Register to bid at macauctioncompany.com. Up for auction, Ford Versatile 846 four-wheel drive tractor, a Versatile 875, Case IH 1101 swather, a Seedhawk 40-foot air drill, a John Deere 4450, and 1,740 round and square hay bales. Bidding closes this Thursday, July 24th at 10 a.m.
Hello? Is there anybody that could help me with some lumber for some projects this summer?
If you find yourself needing assistance but talking to nobody, then you're definitely not at Freeze Tallman, where they even know you by name. You're not just a number. They'll answer all your questions if you have a decking, railing, or fencing job on the horizon this year. They'll even deliver. Shop local. Freeze Tallman in Regina and Fort Capel.
Freeze Tallman. Let's get you building.
Get ready to rock with 2 nights of incredible Canadian music. Shake the Lake Regina, presented by Brand, is August 22nd and 23rd, featuring the Headstones. Turn up the volume for Default. Finger 11. And many more. Celebrate our nation's music in one epic weekend. Shake the Lake 2025. Get your tickets at connexusartcenter.ca. See you at the center.
As a farmer in Saskatchewan, you're always thinking about growing, but you also need to think about, well, growing. That's why Connexus launched the Ag Grow Fund. It's a program specifically designed to help farmers like you grow your ambitions, with discounted rates on new fixed-rate term loans and mortgages. There's up to $2 million in funding available, with no maximum age restrictions or application fees. So what do you say? Let's get growing. Visit connexus.ca/aggrowfund to learn more.
If it's happening in sports in Saskatchewan, we've got it covered on Sportscage. Be part of the show. Call 936-6262 or toll free 1-866-767-0620. On your radio at 620 CKRM and online at sportscage.com.
And it's Don Hewitt back with the Sportscage. I'm filling in for Barney, who is back tomorrow. Joining me is the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas, who's going to fill us in with all the latest goings-on at Rider practice and with the team as well. I was sort of surprised, Dave, when you told me earlier that the Riders did practice outside today despite the smoke, and I guess it was below that certain number that allowed them to do so.
Yeah, the magical reading number. I'd try to get as intense or in-depth a number to explain it, and I just can't. So let's just say for the easiest and simplest form, yes, the team was back outside today practicing. It was a closed practice, so we didn't get to see what happened. But, of course, the moment I had an opportunity to run out onto the field, that's exactly what I did to check in on Jameer Thurman, who missed yesterday's practice. Aubrey Miller Jr. was taking his reps at the middle linebacker spot. But right away, I had to check in with Coach Mason, find out the status of Jameer Thurman for potentially Friday's game against Edmonton.
Just he's got a big old toe, and he stubbed it the wrong way. But we just kind of took it easy yesterday. He's back out there. He's fine.
So I don't know, Don, have you ever gone in and read like some of the weirdest sports injuries? Like, like a guy was having like noodles or something and he cut his lip, and a guy was cutting food for his kids, and he was a pitcher in baseball, sliced his fingers, couldn't start because he was out for 6 to 8 weeks kind of thing. So maybe a toe stub is what did it, but he was listed as a full participant today, and it sounds quite likely that Jameer Thurman is going to be able to go on Friday, which is good news for the Riders. So that's one thing we do know.
Well, the one thing is, of course, since the advent of artificial turf, although it's getting better because the turf was so bad decades ago. But, if you do jam the top of your toe, sort of a really bad stub on the artificial turf, they call it turf toe, I guess.
Yeah.
Turf toe can be actually really bad, but I think if he had really bad turf toe, he wouldn't have been out today.
You're right. So that's a great sign. And speaking of turf, fun fact, I decided when we were in BC, I wanted to know exactly what that turf is like, because they're doing all kinds of renovations around that stadium to prepare for the World Cup next year, the World Cup of Soccer. So I went and stood on the turf, and there's a little bit more give than what I had anticipated. I truthfully was anticipating like asphalt covered by that old little green turf that you used to put on your deck and stuff. But there was actually a little more give. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot of give, but there was more give than I thought. So
was there more give than the turf here?
Probably equitable.
Oh, okay.
Probably very, very similar. And from what I understand, it can't be too spongy because of soccer, because the Whitecaps play there, for example. So that, again, did that cause the injury? I don't know. But again, good news is good news, and we'll take good news. So that's what we know. Unfortunately, what we don't know, depending on who you ask, is who's going to start at quarterback for the Edmonton Elks. Because again, today they held a practice. Cody Fajardo, Trey Ford, both splitting reps. They're not going to go ahead and name a starter until they absolutely have to tomorrow, which may go ahead and change the plans for the Riders. So I asked Coach Mace how closely he's been watching that quarterback situation.
We got to keep eyes on it. Most teams will hold it tight to the vest, but realistically, we got to prepare for both quarterbacks, and that's certainly what we've been doing all week. So they both have their strengths, man, and have shown to be successful in this league during their time. So we're expecting the best from each one of them.
But you'll recall this is a little bit of a different situation, because there is obviously an opportunity for both quarterbacks to play, unlike when the Riders played BC a couple of weeks ago, right? Yeah. Nathan Rourke was a question mark, so you didn't know if you would see him. You would either, see him or not. This time around, it truly is a situation where those two quarterbacks could play, and could both play come Friday night. So in that consideration, I asked Coach if that means they have to prepare any differently.
Not really. You prepare when you sit and watch, and you prepare for the both of them. You kind of have a plan of attack for each one, whether you see them or not. But anticipating if you're potentially going to see one guy or the other, you got to be ready for both. So that's how we've attacked this week, and whoever they choose, they feel gives them the best option. We got to have a plan for that.
So I throw this out, Rider Nation. Who do you want to see the Edmonton Elks start? Or maybe better yet, who do you think the Edmonton Elks are going to start at quarterback Friday night? If you go to sportscage.com, our poll is up asking that very question. And right now, just over 70% anticipate. You want to guess?
I'd say Trey Ford.
Cody Fajardo.
Really?
Yeah. Again, vote sportscage.com or send us a text at 306-936-6262. Do you have I don't want to say preference, but do you have, where are your spidey senses taking you as to who starts?
Well, there's two different Trey Fords, Dave. There's number one Trey Ford, he's struggling and seems to be almost regressing. Now, whether that's got something to do with he's not in sync with their offensive coordinator, I don't know, but he's not doing as well. But then there's Trey Ford number two, and that's the Trey Ford, Dave, that plays here at Mosaic Stadium. Because he should, he played great the last two times he's played here, not necessarily when he played Saskatchewan earlier in Edmonton, but when he's played here, Edmonton has won 3 of the last 4 games at Mosaic. It could be 4-0, but for that crazy Rouge a few years ago that I think they won 12-11 or whatever. Yeah. But the fact is Trey Ford has had some of his best games as a CFLer right here at Mosaic. He likes it here for whatever reason. He's got some karma. And so I ask you this, Dave, is this the trappiest of trap games for Saskatchewan?
Absolutely, and defining a trap game where you maybe overlook your opponent a little bit because, again, Edmonton's in the rearview mirror right now.
Yeah.
And you're right, it could be, and everyone is saying the right words right now when it comes to the players and the coaches. No, this isn't a trap game. We focus on each and every opponent and going 1-0 every week, and that's fine to say. But I'm with you when it comes to Trey Ford because he has never lost to the Saskatchewan Roughriders in a game that he has started. Granted, it is a small sample size, but Trey Ford has had some kind of, I don't want to say good fortune or good luck because that diminishes what he's done. He's just played very, very well against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So if he gets in there, and again, take nothing away from Cody Fajardo because he can run and make things happen with his legs as well. Mm-hmm. So that was the talk about last week and Nathan Rourke and his ability to do that. So Nathan Rourke, he ran the ball once for 13 yards in last week's victory for the Riders over the BC Lions. So I asked Coach Mace a little bit about the intricacy when it comes to stopping a running quarterback and whether that's assignment or whether that's a mindset or whether that's a technique. And he talked about how they approach coming up against a mobile quarterback.
It's a little bit of everything. It's players have to adjust how they do things. The scheme has to adjust sometimes depending on certain players. There's a bunch of different ways to skin it, but ultimately, speaking to Trey, whether it was playing against our defense or watching him against others, there's some really good plans, and sometimes his legs are faster than plans, right? So, you just kind of you want to look to see that you have a proper plan of attack, and when the ball's snapped, you just at that point you just hope we execute and he doesn't outrun it. Yeah.
And again, that's a big thing, right? Him outrunning and providing that depth. And so, again, I think that's an interesting matchup. And as I look at sportscage.com, again, just scroll down for the poll. It's now just over 70%. So some people are starting to sway now towards maybe it will be Trey Ford. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, had Trey Ford not had so much success at Mosaic, I would have also guessed Cody Fajardo. But just because... I don't know. I can't figure out, and Trey Ford's not the only athlete that we've seen that for some reason does well against a particular team. We've seen it in other sports with other players, and I've often looked at that and never have I been able to figure it out. Like, why is this one team, why is this one player so successful against this one particular team? And the only thing you can really come up with is it's all between the ears. Yeah. He comes in, he's confident against Saskatchewan because he's done well.
And it's funny because it's like you're reading my mind, and I apologize because it's a very short story, right? Yeah. But in the athletes that do perform well against particular teams, and I was trying to think, okay, what's going to be the best example that we can draw from with the Saskatchewan Roughriders? And would the most recent best example not be Chris Getzlaff and the Calgary Stampeders? And the way that he would always show up at McMahon Stadium, Darian Durant would always find a way to find him streaking somewhere down the middle, running a post pattern that Calgary just couldn't figure out to cover. Is that the best one? I couldn't think of others.
That's a pretty good one. But, I mean, it's sort of like, Adams Jr., the quarterback in Calgary, always beats Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Like, how does that figure over the last number of years when Winnipeg's been such a powerhouse?
Yeah.
And he's done it now twice this year.
Yeah. For sure, right? I completely agree with you. And I don't know how that happens, but it just, whatever it is, something in the water, who knows? But it is.
Now, the Riders, I mean, it was really sad to see Carey go down with what looked like a horrific knee injury. I really liked how the coach responded to that injury. He clearly cares very much for that man. He came out onto the field and kissed him. He said later he's got a hell of a support system, underneath him that are supporting him because we love the man. And you could see the emotion in Mace's face when he saw how injured Carey was. And I couldn't help but think, Dave, how can you not want to play for a coach like that? He really cares for his players.
Special. is the word when people, and I overhear conversations regarding not just Coach Mace, but the entire team, right? Because this team deeply cares about one another, and you could see that they were shaken up on the sideline because Kadeem Carey was having a heck of a ball game, right? He had done some really good things. That's what Coach Mace alluded to yesterday, and he had done some terrific things, not only in that game, but what about the way that he carried himself coming in? I want to be a part of this thing. I think it's something special, and this is Kadeem Carey and what he said coming in, right? I'll take a practice roster spot. That's great. If I can help out and you think that I can, put me in. And unfortunately, of course, the injury happens. But he is back in Regina. He had a chance to talk to his teammates. Again, they lent their support to him. So, again, we wish him all the best in what, again, looked like a terrible injury for sure. But maybe giving more props to Coach Mace, right? If you tuned into the Sportscage with Arash Madani earlier this week, and of course, if you didn't, you can go to the website, find the podcast, and hear about it. And Arash Madani called the game against the BC Lions the best game that Coach Mace had ever called as a defensive coordinator in the Canadian Football League.
Even beating the Grey Cup.
Even winning the Grey Cup. That's what Arash Madani's assessment was. And again, he's written it down. And so I asked Coach point blank, I said, so was that the best game you've ever called?
That's hard. I never want to take credit for that. I'm a big believer in players win games. No matter what we call as a defense, they got to execute it. I just thought it came down to execution for those guys. So, appreciate it, but that's the guys did that.
So there you go, right? Coach right there going, it wasn't me. And again, for all intents and purposes, it was a very, very good game plan.
Now, Dave, have you ever had a nightmare where you wake up screaming and sweaty?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Do I want to know where this is going?
Well, the other night I was watching the Ottawa Redblacks lose Hamilton in Ottawa, and I was wondering, what's going to happen to this organization? It's, the fans would show up in Ottawa if just the team would. And then I went to bed, and I had this awful dream, one of the worst I've ever had. And the dream was this, that they cleaned house completely in Ottawa and then hired, I shouldn't even say this, they hired Corey Mace as general manager and head coach.
Oh, wow.
For a big buck, at which point I woke up, screamed, and was in a sweat. Because I would hate to see this man ever leave.
Oh, you know what? You're right. You'd hate to see him leave. But again, I know that some people don't like Dave Thomas for this take, but I'd rather cheer someone on. And again, for whatever the aspiration is, I'm ready to cheer you on. But for now, I'm ready to cheer for you in green and white, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm saying on that one. But the other bit of news that we do have out of Edmonton, if I've got just a moment, is that the Elks look like Jake Seresna is going to be coming back on the defensive line, which can only help.
This Friday.
This Friday, wow. They're hoping that he was limited, but they hope that the knee injury will be able to recover from, which will help their run game or their run defense, which they definitely can use a little bit of a bolster in. But on the back end, against a team that has given up so many passing yards and big plays, the Elks have lost a couple of defensive backs as they don't have practicing right now, Devondrick Bynum as well as Royce Metier. So neither of the two have been able to get on the practice field. They haven't officially ruled them out, but it doesn't sound promising. So the Edmonton Elks coming off a bye week, right? And again, this is one of the things that I really think has disrupted their season is their schedule. This is their second bye week already this season. So they haven't really had a chance to get into rhythm and get going. The Roughriders have been so fortunate, right? You get into those 4-week runs and then you take a week off. Yeah. And again, that's where we are right now. Get 4 weeks and then get another week off. So that's disrupted the Elks' plans, but unfortunately for them, they just couldn't get healthier over that break.
Yeah, the Riders have probably the best bye weeks in the league. If you look at everybody's bye weeks, they've got them spaced out pretty good. So I don't know who pulled some, maybe Craig Reynolds pulled some strings. I don't know, but they've got really good bye week. And what's happening, too, what I've noticed is it seemed like Saskatchewan was getting so many injuries out of training camp in particular, so many injuries earlier, but other CFL teams are catching up with their injuries.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case. And, you would think that coming off a bye week, you would be okay, right? You'd get a little momentum, you'd be fresh, you'd do well. The Edmonton Elks are 0 for 7 in their last 7 bye weeks. They haven't won a game coming out of a bye week. Now, again, granted, you look at the record, you can understand that a little bit, but still, that's tough, right? This team needs to get some momentum and find it soon, because the West Division is starting to run away a little bit. And a team that nobody's really talking about how much trouble they're in is the BC Lions. If you consider the fact that, okay, they've lost the season series now to both the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So BC's got some work to do, and they've already used one of the bye weeks. So the Roughriders have a game in hand already on the BC Lions. So that game in hand comes in handy this week when they take on the Edmonton Elks, and we'll see what Friday night presents at Mosaic Stadium.
Well, the weatherman is clear and sunny.
Perfect.
As far as I'm concerned. And,
pay that man another $1.
Dave Thomas does not have to fill about 9 hours of airtime. We're hoping. Anyway, thanks for you to pop in.
Appreciate
Dave.
it. Thank you.
Always appreciate your insight. Sportscage will continue in just a moment.
Degelman Industries has been engineering tough, high-performance rock removal equipment for over 60 years. The legendary 7200 Signature Rock Picker is designed to provide relentless heavy stone work day in and day out. With a massive 28 inches of clearance between the paddle assembly and the grill, large stones are easily and accurately picked. Quantities are limited for fall, so contact your local Degelman dealer or visit degelman.com for more information. Degelman, engineered tough.
The ball is snapped. He scans the field. He's going deep. What a play! Rider fans, make your own great play by going to riders5050.ca. You can now buy tickets for every Rider game, home or away. You can also sign up for the 50-50 Club and never miss a draw, including the weekly loyalty and early bird prizes. All proceeds support amateur football in Saskatchewan, equipping the heartland, and just maybe score a big win. Get your tickets today at riders5050.ca and go Riders! Riders 5050 is presented by ISC.
Sask Lotteries has over 50 years of winning behind us. And you know what that means? Lots of winning numbers. Numbers like over 1,200 organizations funded and 12,000 plus groups supported. $6 million given away annually in community grants. And the winningest number of all? $1.4 billion given back to the people of Saskatchewan through sport, culture, and recreation. And we're just getting started. Learn more at sasklotteries.ca.
Bidding is now open for the timed online farm equipment auction for Rylan Weir and Adam Corrigan of Nanner, Saskatchewan. Register to bid at macauctioncompany.com. Up for auction, Ford Versatile 846 four-wheel drive tractor, a Versatile 875, Case IH 1101 swather, a Seedhawk 40-foot air drill, a John Deere 4450, and 1,740 round and square hay bales. Bidding closes this Thursday, July 24th at 10 a.m.
If you've got a Steelcraft garage door, you've got a door with parts manufactured and assembled right here in Canada. A door with better insulation and seal, plus a warranty you're probably never going to use. Combined with a LiftMaster opener, it's the right choice. And if you don't have a Steelcraft garage door, you should get one. And a LiftMaster opener. 100% made by Canadians for Canadians. Steady, tariff-free pricing and great quality, no matter what.
Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door. We offer more.
This summer, if you're thinking of a new building, think Olympic Buildings. They're engineered from top to bottom to be better than the rest. Strength, solid design, and impressive good looks are all standard on an Olympic farm building. Visit olympic-buildings.ca.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. From skid steers to tents to power tools, anything you need to rent for that summer job is at Prairie Land Rentals. Deal with the owner, 600 Albert Street. It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals. For all your hot water needs, call on Reliance Heath today.
And in the Western Canada Baseball League tonight, the Red Sox are in Lethbridge to take on the Bulls. Last night, the Red Sox were rained out, and they'll be playing a double header in Medicine Hat as a result. The Weyburn Beavers are in Surf Current to play the 57s, and tonight the The Medicine Hat Mavericks take on the Miller Express in Moose Jaw.
Ball is snapped. He scans the field. He's going deep. What a play! Rider fans, make your own great play by going to riders5050.ca. You can now buy tickets for every Rider game, home or away. You can also sign up for the 50-50 Club and never miss a draw, including the weekly loyalty and early bird prizes. All proceeds support amateur football in Saskatchewan, equipping the heartland, and just maybe score a big win. Get your tickets today at riders5050.ca and go Riders! Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
It's time to bring the energy, throw on your green, pack the stands, and get loud. Because this isn't just a game. It's Regina Rams football. Come cheer on the Rams all season long, and let's show the visiting team why Regina is the best city to catch a game. Family friendly, affordable, and packed with fun in-game entertainment, giveaways, and of course hard-hitting, action-packed football. Season tickets are on sale now at reginarams.com. It's football time. Go Rams.
Howdy, Wood Country Woody again. You know, you and me ain't so different. We both love to sit on a sunny deck with a cool beverage instead of sanding the thing all the time. And when I heard TimberTech composite decking material is super low maintenance, well, that sold me right there. They didn't even need to mention that it features a sweet little hidden fastener system, or that they also have the treated lumber that goes underneath. It's easy, it's pretty, it's TimberTech from Wood Country.
Your home is your castle.
In McLean, Estevan, and Tisdale, wood-country.com.
If you have a garage door that's running a little rough, you should really have Busy Bee Doors, the garage door specialists, come out and repair it. Or it may need to be replaced altogether. Yeah, just call Busy Bee Doors, the local experts who have been in the business for many, many years, because they can fix or replace any commercial or garage door.
Honey, calling Busy Bee.
Good idea. Busy Bee Doors, the garage door specialists.
Hey folks, this is Stompin' Arnold Asham. I'm here to tell you about our annual Stomper Fest, September long in Reedy Creek, Manitoba. Of course, we have the Asham Stompers, the Nelson Little Band, the Ivan Flatt Memorial Dancers. We have Desiree Dorian, Chris Barker Band, the Campbell Band, Franny Klein, the Cameron Campbell Band, and George Anderson, just to name a few. Headliner is Mary Frances Leahy and Danelle Leahy. 3 days of great entertainment with free camping, great food, and Saturday night fireworks. Will be an incredible fun weekend. Early bird weekend passes for $100 will be available at Asham Curling, 700 McPhillips, 1-800-267-5730 till August 15th.
We are the voice of Saskatchewan. 620 CKRM Regina, a Harvard media station.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Corey Atkinson from the SaskToday.ca newsroom with your 620 CKRM News. A Regina correctional officer is facing serious charges for suspected drug trafficking. RCMP say they began investigating drug smuggling at the Regina Provincial Correctional Centre in September of 2023. A 36-year-old inmate and a 35-year-old woman were first charged. On July 16, 2025, police arrested 44-year-old Justin Amiot. He faces 3 charges, including conspiracy to traffic drugs and breach of trust. Amiot is scheduled to appear in court August 7th in Regina. Connexus Credit Union will be the name for the new credit union created by the merger of Connexus, Cornerstone, and Synergy Credit Unions. Members supported the merger with over 85% voting yes last month. The board say Connexus was picked because people know and trust the name in Saskatchewan. Selena Philpott will be the CEO when the merger takes effect on January 1st. The new Connexus will have 1,400 employees and serve 200,000 members. Canada's premiers have wrapped up their 3-day meeting covering topics like the U.S. trade war, healthcare, and immigration. U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs have dominated recent conversations. But New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt doesn't think other issues important to Canadians are being pushed to one side by the U.S. trade war or economic issues.
But in order for our government to be able to deliver on our commitment to improving access to healthcare in New Brunswick and making sure everybody can be part of a family health team, to making life more affordable, whether that's housing or the cost of electricity or others, I need to make sure that we are growing our economy in order to cover the cost of those services.
The group called on the federal government to improve its relationship with China as Ontario and Saskatchewan worry about their steel workers because of U.S. steel tariffs and China's continued dumping of steel into the market via proxy. A Calgary judge has sentenced a mother and father who pleaded guilty to manslaughter in the scalding death of their toddler to 6 years in prison each. Sonia Pasqua and Michael Sinclair poured scalding water on 18-month-old Gabriel and didn't call for medical assistance. The boy's great-uncle, Gary Backaway, who cared for him for 16 months, says the length of the sentence doesn't matter. And 3 miners have been trapped underground at British Columbia's Red Chris copper and gold mine following an accident overnight. BC Premier David Eby says, to the best of the government's knowledge, the workers are uninjured and in a refuge area.
Obviously, it's very concerning for the families, for the workers in the sector, and all British Columbians and Canadians. And our thoughts are with the families and an appreciation with the incredibly brave rescue teams that are working right now.
Eby says 2 of the workers are from BC and another is from Ontario. And fans of comic and pop culture are losing a favorite event as the Saskatchewan Entertainment Expo announced its ending for good. The Expo said on social media that poor attendance, venue troubles, and other challenges are to blame. Chad Boudreau, the owner of Comic Readers in Regina, says the convention never fully recovered from COVID-19. In 2023, it did bring in stars from popular shows, but there was no event last year. That was your 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
Burning the candle at both ends? What a weird saying. What if there's no wick at the bottom end? So many questions. But what I don't question is where I get my tires. When your vehicle needs the right tires, see your local Cooper tire dealer. Your local Cooper tire dealer carries Cooper Discover Road and Trail AT tires. They have a durable tread that helps resist cutting, cranking, and tearing that occurs on rough trails. Ask your local Cooper tire dealer about Cooper Discoverer Road and Trail AT tires today.
Your Co-op Grow team are your local experts because we live here too. Our agronomic specialists stay up to date with the latest research and technology to help support your entire farm operation. Talk to our team for advice tailored to your farm's needs. We have recommendations to help you optimize your crop yield and quality while enhancing the health of your land. Co-op, we're all growing together. Here for your farm, here for your family. Learn more at coop.crs/farm.
Precision Weather brought to you by Linex Regina. Serious protection, killer looks. 1865 McCarra Street. Now to Precision Weather today. Partly sunny, areas of smoke, a high of 20. Precipitation chances 20%. Wind north-northwest 20 kilometers an hour. Sometimes it'll gust down to around 10. The big day, of course, is Friday for a kickoff. The Saskatchewan Roughriders hosting the Edmonton Elks. And right now, it's supposed to be a beautiful day with no smoke. Let's keep our fingers crossed. A high of 29 degrees.
When you want the best for your truck, you want Line-X. Your truck has withstood the harshest elements Saskatchewan has thrown at it. Rocks, gravel, rain, sleet, and snow, and left with no chips, no rust. Line-X protective coating keeps your truck's bed liners, rocker panels, and bumpers looking like brand new. Don't settle for Brand X. Go with Line-X. It's serious protection. Come see why everybody loves taking their truck to Line-X Regina for their rocker panels, bumpers, and more. Line-X. Make your truck complete. 1865 McCarra Street.
Sask Lotteries has over 50 years of winning behind us. And you know what that means? Lots of winning numbers. Numbers like over 1,200 organizations funded and 12,000 plus groups supported. $6 million given away annually in community grants. And the winningest number of all? $1.4 billion given back to the people of Saskatchewan through sport, culture, and recreation. And we're just getting started. Learn more at sasklotteries.ca.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rnpchevrolet.com today. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
And we're back with Sports Cage, brought to you by Regina Motor Products. Don Hewitt here. Barney is back tomorrow. Well, on Saturday at the Doubletree Hotel in Regina, longtime hockey official and supervisor Brad Howard will be inducted into the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame. Brad grew up in Regina and started working as a linesman in the SJHL at the age of 18. Next thing you know, he was working in both the SJ and Western Hockey League as a head referee, then as a supervisor. He has worked in junior hockey for 44 years. I know how old he is. That's a big chunk of his life. Brad is retiring from the SJ, but it's impossible to believe that retirement is in Brad's vocabulary. He's now involved with professional hockey officials in Austria and Hungary. And Brad, of course, congratulations on your induction on Saturday. So as a teenager, how did you get into hockey officiating to begin with?
Hi, Don. Thanks. Actually, I was 13.
13? Oh,
13
sorry.
when I started officiating. And my uncle was involved. He was doing lines in the Sask Junior League and refereed. And he asked me one night if I was interested in going with him to a clinic. And so off I went when I was 13 and did a lot
Oh, my goodness.
6 in the morning sets on Saturday morning or Sunday morning if I wasn't playing, because I was still playing. So
yeah,
Mom would get up at 5 o'clock and get me breakfast and drive me over to the El Richie, and I'd work from 6 to 10. And then, that went on for quite a few years. So,
oh, my apologies. 13. I had no idea you started at that age. And you must have been like mature for your age, because at 13, and you've got maybe the odd idiotic adult yelling at you, and you're 13 and you knew how to handle it at 13. How did you manage that?
I don't know if I knew how to handle it, but we had some good support people too at that time. And I remember Gord Wilkie, that name, he refereed, and Gord helped me a lot when I was like those 13, 14, 15 years. We talked about officiating coaches now, and I would say probably Gord, I don't even know if he remembers that, but he always gave us pointers. He was around, so he was a big help when we were young, and it was kind of learned by fire back then. You went to a clinic, and
okay,
it was pretty. There were some tense moments. I remember, we had that week-long tournament at Easter time, and so you'd work pretty much from the morning till the end of the day.
Centennial Cup. Was that the Centennial Cup?
I think it was the Centennial Cup
at the El Richie.
Yeah. So anyway, lots of that. And then that developed into getting some opportunities in some tournament finals, when you're 15, 16 in that area, and still played a lot of hockey. And, and then when I was 18, I was actually going to go play junior, and didn't really want to move away from home, but thought, that's my next step, is playing.
Yeah.
And Dennis Pottage called me and said, "Are you interested in doing lines in the Western Hockey League and the Sask Junior League?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." So stayed at home in that 18 year, when I was 18, worked that year in both leagues. And then when I was 19, I decided to go play, it was Division II then, but now Division III. I played for Concordia College. Steve Baumgartner was a friend of my brother's.
Okay.
And Steve was playing down there and said, "Hey, are you interested in coming playing with us?" So I went down there and played there for a year and had a great experience. Sometimes I wonder why I didn't go back for the full 4 years. We actually played in the Final Four. So that was a great experience to play there. And then came back and played with the Regina Exports, Molson Exports, for about 4 years after that in senior hockey. Well, I continued, probably during 3 of those years, I was still doing lines in Sask Junior in the Western League, and then started refereeing. And I found it hard the year I started refereeing, because your schedule, you did more travel, that sort of thing. So played only provincials with them for a year or two, and then gave up the hockey, and just since then been incredibly active in the officiating world. So it's been a great experience.
How much did it help you being a former player in your officiating?
I think it really did at that time anyway. Yeah. I think the one thing it really helps is the speed of the game. You're used to the speed of the game and things happening around you.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, we have some outstanding officials. Brad Potson, one of my best friends.
The two Brads, as you were known way back then.
Yeah. I mean, 8 Stanley Cup finals, and he never played anything more than like a Bantam C hockey at that time, right? So, so in some cases it helps, but in other cases, guys like Brad
and Brad could
had a
skate.
well,
Yep.
I think Brad could skate, and he grew late in life too, right? So
yeah,
that's
right.
In his grade 12 year, I think he grew 11 inches, which put
You're
him back in the
kidding.
mix. No, yeah, he was he was just a tiny guy, and so when he hit grade 12, he had a growth spurt, which and again, an incredible skater, incredible athlete, and he was also just he just loved sports. That guy. So I mean, when I'd go my game, he'd go to his game, and the whole group of us would meet after in an establishment and just talk the whole night about what happened in our games. So just loved doing that
cool.
stuff. So,
Yeah, and Brad
it
was
a
an
great time.
NHL official, the third oldest to keep going at 57 before he retired. Did you, as a 13-year-old, did you get Brad Watson, the other of the two Brads, Brad Watson? Did you get him into it yourself?
Nope. He was into
okay.
it. Brad and I actually, probably our first year university, we kind of connected. Like, it was funny. We grew up in the same neighborhood. Brad went to Douglas Park. I went to St. Andrew. And we just have some big shinny games against each other. And Brad tells the story. He thought we were all pretty cocky and didn't like us during those shinny games. But and then in university, Brad and I connected through the officiating. And then we used to have when I played with the exports, we had to take a traveling linesman with us. And so I asked Brad if he'd be our traveling linesman. So Brad and I, even though I was playing, he was ref, and we spent a lot of time together then. And Brad, even though we were the same age, he looked a lot younger. And
he still does.
He does. He looks great, and he's still in great shape. And
but you look young too, so.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Brad, at that time, Robbie Fair and those guys were, some of the top guys around. And I remember a guy, I said, well, they used to get to pick their linesmen too for games. And I said, why don't you guys take Brad? And they're going, well, he's so young. He's got lots of time. I go, he's same age as me. And then they're going, really? Okay. And then some of those guys, and then so Brad just excelled, obviously, in what he was doing. And so Brad and I just spent so much time talking hockey, and then the Mike Hasenkrats. I started, Darryl Davis was one of the veteran linesmen in the Western League when I started. And so those guys and Mick Magoo, all those guys, Mick and I started in the Western League the same year. So
cool.
A lot of good times with those guys.
Well, when I heard you and Brad talk, you talked the same lingo. You had the same sort of, I don't know, words that you used. I thought you were brothers, but then you had, they can't be. They'd have two last names, but they talk exactly the same. But now, and let's flip up to today now, and you're off to Hungary very shortly to help their officials and develop their officials in their, I guess, professional hockey league. And one question I had about that, which is cool that you're doing that, and I know you're involved in Austria as well, but like Europe and North America play, or rather they play two different styles and they're officiated differently. So when you're coming from North America with the way that, the organizations on this continent referee hockey, and then you're going over there in a different style, do you keep that in mind, or does that have anything to do with it? How does that work when you're talking to officials in Hungary?
Yeah, some of the mechanics are the same. So getting in the right position to see the play properly, getting in the right position so the player can make the best play that they can make, and you're not in the way. Those things are the same. Obviously, the ice surface is bigger over there, so there's a little bit of adjustment there. The game flow fouls now are very similar. Like, we want skill to show, and so the obstruction fouls, those sorts of things are very similar. What is different a bit is the physical component of the game. I had a conference call with some Hungarian executive the other day, and I've been watching video from over in the Hungary League. And I said, some of those things you guys said called penalties on, we would say are good hits here. We still have, they don't use the same terminology as we do with regards to outside the 90 or blindside hits or elevation or those sorts of things. But I thought there was some of them where the player came directly on and made good physical contact. And they were solid and the guy went flying, and they tend to call those as penalties over there. So I'm going to have a little bit of learning over there. The Austrian, and the sad part is in watching the international hockey over the years, there was some embellishment, but that's crept into our game here too.
Right. Now there's penalties for embellishment. Yep.
Right.
Thanks
in fact, this year in Sask Junior, it was one of our focus areas, right? To tell the officials to deal with it. So that's not a positive, but it's both internationally and here. It's very similar now. So, but with that said, there's going to be some adjustments. But last year when I went over, I did about 6 or 7 games in the Austrian League, and that was just my wife's heavily involved in figure skating. She had an assignment. She had an assignment over in Europe, in Hungary. I decided, it was time to maybe travel with her a little bit. So Tommy Kyle, that works in the Western League, we were doing a development camp classroom session together, and just mentioned I was going with Karen to Hungary. He works for the Austrian Pro League as well, and said, hey, we got a team over there. Will you work for us? And so I worked some games there, did a couple games with Hungarian officials that were working in. They have one team in Fehérvár in Hungary that's in the Austrian League. And he just asked, so I did those, worked with some Hungarian officials. On the way back to the hotel one night, the one guy said, we could really use a guy like you over here. And that's what started the whole thing. We went back, Karen got another assignment. Typically it's not in the same country, but she got another assignment in Hungary. So we went over and we did a tour through the Austrian League, phoned Tommy, and it was a great experience, loved it. And that's back in March, I received a call from their sports director and said, hey, are you interested in working for us? So that's what got it all going. And I leave on the 4th for 3 weeks to work with their training camp and their exhibition schedule. And I'm doing more than...
Interesting.
We have a referee in chief in the Pro League that's new. So him and I have been doing some work together, and they have a referee in chief of minor hockey also. I'll be working with them as well. And we're going to look at, everything from training hockey, the officiating coaches to... I'm going to be involved in their discipline in their pro league and helping in selection of officials for playoffs. And I'll do a lot of stuff remotely too. I'm going to be over there 70 days through the winter and remotely here quite a bit. They only play Tuesday, Friday, and Sundays. Wednesdays and Saturdays, I learned last year, are their soccer days, and you don't touch soccer days. Even hockey, and even the Hungarian league's just developing. And I was talking to one general manager, and what's your pay structure? He was telling me what they pay the player. The imports get paid fairly well, but Hungary, I would say, is it's not the Austrian league or the Swiss league or the German, but they're really working hard to improve their hockey, and it's good. And but to the one team I was talking to, I said, how do you guys all pay all your bills? You only draw about 2,000 fans. And he said, we're owned by the soccer team.
Right. Soccer rules supreme. Oh, you get a lot of good things from soccer, including knowing how to embellish. But anyway, the hockey players learn from the soccer players. Now, I've talked to players who have played professional hockey in both Europe and North America. They always say, well, they call things way tighter in Europe than they do in North America. And so I've discussed the issue of, if they called the game of hockey in North America as tight as they did in Europe, would you need fighting in North American hockey if you called it way tighter? What's your take on that?
Just personal. I'm actually not a fighting fan anymore. When I reffed and everything, I thought it was fine. I got to tell you, over there in the Austrian League, they want to end the games around the 2-hour mark. And so one of their goals is they have very few gatherings. It's a quick shot after the whistle. There's some emotion still, but it's a quick shot. But they don't continue on with it in most cases, especially in the regular season. Most of the games were honestly 2:05, 2:07, and we were going home. And so then it's just fast. And my wife came to some games with me, and I remember the first one, she said about third period, Brad, I can't believe how fast this game's going. It's just about over.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that component. You can still be really physical, play hard between the whistles. I still like the physical component of the game. I really do. But I'm just what we know, what happens to the brain with brain injuries now. I'm just not a fan of it anymore for that reason.
And you've been close up to fighting, obviously very close up as a referee and officials. And I guess you've got firsthand experience at seeing a player who you clearly can tell or see is hurt after a big punch.
Well, this is not the greatest moment, but in our first year in the Western League, we were told, do not, under any circumstances, go into a fight unless they fall on the ice. And the Pats had a Euro playing for them, and he got into a fight, and he was out cold on his feet, but not down. And we were standing there and watching it. And I remember thinking, wow. And B.D. Barton on his sports,
B.D. Martin
on sports the next night, he said, I won't say the other official's name. He goes, but I don't know how Brad Howard and so-and-so can call themselves human beings to stand there and watch that. They played something along that line. and shortly after that, the next week, we got a memo saying, if there's a situation like this, you're going in again. So, so, I mean, we used to go, like if someone was getting beat bad, we used to go in, right? You might take the odd punch here and there. And back then we didn't wear helmets either. So we'd take the odd one too, right? So, but yeah, it's, so I've seen it up, even now in my role, you see some guys just get hammered and you're thinking, oh man. We had a situation in Weyburn a couple of years ago too, where a guy was out, the player actually stopped immediately and he turned to our referees and made a comment. He was so concerned, but at that time, the emotion's high and he hit him and, he went over on him and the guy went down on the ice. They were down and he went over on him. And like the referee said, he did stop almost immediately when he realized the guy's hurt.
Good.
But the player was hurt bad. So anyway.
Well, we'll see. The Quebec League has banned it and see what happens as we carry on with that sort of issue. Now, by trade, you were a school principal in the public system. I watched you in action. Well, you were the principal, I think, at Howrah at one time. Weren't you at Howrah?
Jack McKenzie. No, I was.
Oh, Jack McKenzie. Okay, some reason I was at Jack McKenzie and saw you in action. But anyway, I thought, well, Brad has got a way about him in how he deals with people who are upset and whatnot. And I wanted to ask you the question, upset, at the school, and you're the principal. And I wanted to ask you the question, you've dealt with so many angry people in hockey. You've had coaches running after you and general managers when you were supervising as well, not only on the ice. Did what you learned in officiating help you as an educator and a principal?
Immensely. I used to say when you're a player, you're playing with emotion and you're not worried about, you probably escalate situations, right? And it took me a while to realize that our role as a referee is to de-escalate things, not escalate them. So in most cases, what I found too is you can find common ground, right? And if you find that common ground and then you build on that. And even with a coach, in my role, I do not lie to a coach or a manager. If we erred, I tell them we erred and we're going to work on it. We're going to work on improving, right? The odd guy won't accept that, but overall we do. And in my role as an administrator, working with families and those sorts of things, you often had those situations too, right? There's emotion involved and you want to try to de-escalate it and then get to the point and get, a resolution so you can move forward. So there was times I still let, not so much in my administration role, but there's times it still gets pretty heated behind the scenes. And every now and then I still get a little fired up.
Now, coming up a little later, we're going to be talking about another inductee into the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame on Saturday. That's Barry Trapp. I don't know if he's listening right now, Barry, but he's on at about 5:10, somewhere around there. But did you ever have any problems? Let's go on the record now. Did you ever have any problems with Barry Trapp?
Never. Barry was,
yeah.
But I will tell a story, and I hope Barry's okay with this. I was refereeing in Moose Jaw when he's coaching the Warriors, and Barry was always he's just a class guy, total class guy. You know, I'm honored to be going in with those guys, Bill Lisquich, Al Hubbs, who you know we're not the pro guys, but we're guys that worked forever in the trenches, right? So.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm honored to be going in with those guys. But one night, Barry was on the bench and he was getting the fans going at the old Crush Can. And I said, Barry, get down. Yeah, I'm going to have to penalize you if you don't get down. Yeah, I don't think he was yelling at me. I don't know. But I can't even really remember. He's walking across the ice after the period. I said, Barry, you can't do it. He just winked at me. He was just doing, the theatrics of it to get the crowd going. And he was just a good guy to deal with. But that was the only time I remember Barry. There he is standing on the dash or the boards, waving his arms and just getting the fans rolling. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, I got a funny feeling when you guys are together being inducted on Saturday, you'll have lots of chats with him and lots of chats with all the other inductees, all the memories you have. Congratulations on that again, Brad, and tell Brad Watson to behave. If it's possible for him to behave, and enjoy because I know he's coming in to see your induction, is he not?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm really excited about him coming. So.
And you enjoy yourself at Hungary and eat well. They probably have nice food over there.
They really do. It's going to be a great opportunity. I'm still going to be working with the Western Hockey League when I'm back here with their officials, and so.
Good. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so
that's good. We're going to have Dan Neer on next week, I believe, and we're going to talk about, all the issues that they're doing with the NCAA. So it'll be interesting. They're still going to have good hockey players. They may be a little younger, but they might have better players coming in, actually, as a result of all of this, apparently.
Don, the kids are so good now. Like, I've been in Sask Junior too, and the quality of play is so good. It's so fast.
Yeah.
At the junior A level, the major junior level, it's just the kids are just so talented now. And even the fighting and whatnot, we have some of it, but I think back when one guy in every line was a protector back then of the skilled guys, right?
Yeah.
Now it's three skilled guys on a line, and they can go. So I love the hockey now. I really do. Skill comes out, and it's so anyway. Yeah, it's been great.
Way faster, bigger, stronger than guys like we were anyway. Thanks a lot, Fred. You enjoy yourself this weekend. Sportscage continues in just a moment.
620 CKRM is your home to country's greatest hits and the 90s at 9. One full hour featuring the biggest hits of the 90s. Garth, Reba, Alan, Shania, George, and so much more. No cassette tape or CDs required, and 90s mullets are optional. 90s at 9 for the town of Wolseley and the voice of Saskatchewan. 620 CKRM.
Gordon tells us why he called Brian Gawley of Smart Investing Solutions.
Well, actually, we heard Brian's commercial on CKRM, and at the time I was just retiring, so I was looking for a financial advisor. I would recommend my family, friends, or anybody to contact Brian. He's a super knowledgeable fella.
Don't guess with your money. Call Brian at 306-546-2533. SmartInvestingSolutions.ca.
Hello? Is there anybody that could help me with some lumber for some projects this summer?
If you find yourself needing assistance but talking to nobody, then you're definitely not at Freeze Tallman, where they even know you by name. You're not just a number. They'll answer all your questions if you have a decking, railing, or fencing job on the horizon this year. They'll even deliver. Shop local. Freeze Tallman in Regina and Fort Capel.
Freeze Tallman. Let's get you building.
The Regina Rams have been a football club since 1954, a team built on grit, pride, and tradition. With 70 seasons under their belt, the Rams' legacy runs deep impacting thousands of fans, players, coaches, and families. You don't have to go far to find someone who has a connection to the team, a memory, a moment, and a story to tell. Join us for the Rams' 71st season. Whether it's your first game or your 100th, this year's story is still being written. Get your game tickets today at reginarams.com. It's football time. Go Rams.
This is where we play. This is where we live. Extreme Hockey and Sport is where we shop when we need the gear for our game in our town. Hockey is in our blood as much as the prairies themselves. Extreme Hockey and Sport understands this. That's why they provide the Saskatchewan Stars of tomorrow only the best. Every level, any budget, expert fit. They're your local sit and fit hockey shop. Extreme Hockey and Sport, 1425 McIntyre Street, Regina's Hockey Shop.
Hey, let's hit up Pump Jack's Cathedral.
Pump? You talking about my basketball shoes?
No, Pump Jack's Cathedral.
Who?
Pump Jack's Cathedral Saloon and Steakhouse. They're open now. They've got a large selection of local draft and food and drink specials. Kids are allowed until 8. There's live entertainment every weekend.
Let's go. I'm pumped.
On the corner of Albert and 13th, Pump Jack's Cathedral Saloon and Steakhouse. Come early, stay late. The place where friends meet.
Elevate your baling experience with the Heston by Massey Ferguson 1 Series Round Baler. With a dependable, long-lasting design for challenging conditions and high-speed baling, this machine features swing-away net loading and an optional hydraulic drop floor for easy obstruction clearing. Quality hay production starts today with Heston by Massey Ferguson. See the Massey Ferguson 1 Series Round Baler at Nick's Service in Emerald Park. For more information, visit nicksservice.com.
The Sportscage Clutch Performer for Nick's Service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fendt dealer. Call 781-1077.
And it's Don Hewitt back with Sportscage. The brains of this operation is actually our producer, Colson Schultz. He knows how to do a whole pile of things I have no clue about, including what he's about to do right now.
Clutch performer for today, Corey Waters of the Saskatoon Berries. I know as Regina we don't like to give Saskatoon a whole lot of props, but they had an 11-4 win in Swift Current Tuesday night. Corey had he went 4 for 5 with at the plate with an RBI and scoring 2 runs. So good job, Corey. Also here we're going to squeeze in our Pick the Score. We are playing Pick the Score today for SaskTel. So if you want tickets to the next Riders home game, which is this Friday, text in what you think the score is going to be. And if we pick you, come grab the tickets and get to go to the game. So, and if your score is closest, you also get a $200 SaskTel gift card. So
you did that very well. That's why you're the brains of the operation.
I try.
Sportscage continues in just a moment.
Hey, let's hit up Pump Jack's Cathedral.
Pump? You talking about my basketball shoes?
No, Pump Jack's Cathedral.
Who?
Pump Jack's Cathedral Saloon and Steakhouse. They're open now. They've got a large selection of local draft and food and drink specials. Kids are allowed until 8. There's live entertainment every weekend.
Let's go. I'm pumped.
On the corner of Albert and 13th, Pump Jack's Cathedral Saloon and Steakhouse. Come early, stay late. The place where friends meet.
Lots of people out there are worried that they're running out of time. Hi, I'm Brian Golly. The average 50-year-old has roughly 15 years left to maximize investment returns before they start to draw their retirement income. You know that GIC rates won't get you where you need to be. You need a solid investment plan, and you need it now.
Invest with confidence and make smart investment decisions. Get Brian Golly working for you and build a solid investment plan that you can rely on. Call Brian at 546-2533 today.
Proven by countless farmers, 900 Series Fendt sprayers set the standard for your crops, and it's available at Nick's Service in Emerald Park. Featuring 370 horsepower, 132-foot boom, 1,580-gallon tank, smart drive 4-wheel steering, and liquid logic recirculating boom, the 900 Series Fendt sprayers are backed by a 3-year, 2,000-hour Gold Star warranty. Leaders drive Fendt. To learn more about making your crops successful, visit Nick's Service today, nicksservice.com.
This is where we play. This is where we live. Extreme Hockey and Sport is where we shop when we need the gear for our game in our town. Hockey is in our blood as much as the prairies themselves. Extreme Hockey and Sport understands this. That's why they provide the Saskatchewan Stars of tomorrow only the best. Every level, any budget, expert fit. They're your local sit and fit hockey shop. Extreme Hockey and Sport, 1425 McIntyre Street, Regina's Hockey Shop.
Nelson Homes is having a summer blowout sale on quick possession homes that you don't want to miss out on. Get free delivery anywhere in Saskatchewan on select in-stock show homes and spec home RTMs. For more information, visit their website, homes.nlc.ca. Or for general information, call 1-800-661-6534. That's the Nelson Homes Summer Blowout Sale. Nelson Homes, trusted quality and service since 1949.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it.
I don't even know. That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
It's time to bring the energy, throw on your green, pack the stands, and get loud. Because this isn't just a game. It's Regina Rams football. Come cheer on the Rams all season long, and let's show the visiting team why Regina is the best city to catch a game. Family-friendly, affordable, and packed with fun in-game entertainment, giveaways, and of course hard-hitting, action-packed football. Season tickets are on sale now at reginarams.com. It's football time. Go Rams.
No, not again. Not in my power bill. It's huge.
Dan used to scream every month when he got his power bill. Then he got a Keln Solar residential solar system. Now, he powers his home and earns credits from Sask Power by sending energy back to the grid.
I barely notice it now. It's so small, like a polite little bill.
Get a quote on a Keln Solar residential solar system at kelnsolar.com.
It's time to get the inside story. TSN's Farhan Lalji on Sportscage is brought to you by the Cooperators. Time to get financially fit? Cooperators can build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, investing in your future together.
And it's Don Hewitt back with Sportscage. You know, sometimes Farhan, while he's somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea or he's in Boston checking out Ivy League schools, and there's the odd occasion when Farhan is on the Coastal Highway in California. So we ask you, Farhan, why are you on the Coastal Highway in California? I think you're okay now. Is he okay there, Colson? Should I start over again? Okay. Can you hear me there, Farhan? Why are you on the Coastal Highway in California?
I was from the Dallas Cowboys training camp, Snard, California training camp at their facility in Santa Clara. So this week I'm doing a bunch of NFL training camps. And, you know, last year I was with my cameraman, Owen Corbell, who does all sorts of big events for TSN. Mm-hmm. And we were in Auction, which is a fair ways out of LA. And if we wanted to get our flight to get to San Francisco, like we were going to miss the flight. So we said to our travel agent, why don't you just let us drive, cancel the flight, and we'll go.
Okay.
And it was 5 hours, door to door. In which, if you think about it, if we would have gone from Oxnard back to LAX, taken a flight, gone to San Francisco, taken a flight, navigated the airports and everything like that, we wouldn't have saved any time. So this is a spectacular highway. You could take I-5, right, between like Los Angeles and San Francisco, but you spend the extra little bit of time, like the extra 15 or 20 minutes, if you take the Coastal Highway, and it's just spectacular. So maybe when we're done, like, and we get, right now we're kind of got some trees in the way, but when we get near some water, I'll turn the camera around and let you see it, because it's a pretty spot. You go through Pacific Palisades and a bunch of other areas. It's a good place to spend time.
So I don't know how much room you have in your vehicle. Can you throw in a surfboard while you're at it?
Oh, we got a big Suburban. We could absolutely. We should have thought about the surfboard. That would have been a good idea. I don't surf, but I could like paddle, right? Like I could just kind of go out there and yeah.
Now, you're probably, knowing you, Farhan, you're probably keeping your eyes on Canadians in NFL camp. So what have you seen so far that way?
Truly, we don't do a ton of that anymore. Or like if there's an important Canadian to talk to, we would talk to Benjamin St. Just. I was at the Chargers camp, and he's made the move from Washington to the Chargers, but he wasn't available. Like I don't know if there's an injury, but he wasn't at practice. He wasn't at their facility where they were practicing at the University of San Diego. So we didn't get a chance to do that. I did talk to Marcus Brady, former CFL coach. Spent a lot of time in Montreal and Toronto, and part of the Mark Trestman tree. He's still very close to Scott Milanovic, the Hamilton coach. So we did talk a little bit, just about his future, but about what he sees from Justin Herbert and where things are at with the Chargers. Oh, here we go. Now look at that. Look at that. There's Owen. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Hey, how is that? How good is that?
Yeah.
You got the sea of wheats in Saskatchewan and Regina, and I just gave you the Pacific Ocean.
A bit of an upgrade. Yes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so I did get a chance to talk to him. I had a brief visit with Dakota Shepley today, just to say hello. But there's other storylines today. We spent a lot of time. I talked to C.D. Lamb. We got into the Micah Parsons story, Dak Prescott and expectations for him. And when we go to San Francisco, I will get a chance to talk to Curtis Rourke. That won't necessarily be the focus of the story that we're doing because he's not part of their season, the early part of the season and things like that for them. But we will talk to Curtis and get a sense of where he's at in his recovery. He's on the non-football injury list, so he's going to be out at least the first 6 weeks of the regular season. And then we'll go to Vegas, and I'll get to check in with my good friend Pete Carroll from all of his time in Seattle. And, if there's Canadians there to talk to, we'll do it.
Now, Rourke, of course, with the 49ers, Curtis Rourke, of course, he's on the Rough Rider NAG list. Do you think there's any chance of Curtis Rourke ever coming to the CFL, or do you think he's good enough that he'll spend his entire career in the NFL?
I thought Nathan was good enough, and he's back in the CFL. Curtis certainly fits the NFL profile a little bit better, just because he's 6'5" and came from a big school and things like that. So he does fit the profile very. Like if you think he's years to develop and this and that, maybe to potential starting or to a starting role, but in terms of being on the roster and for San Francisco to want to continue to invest in him. He's going to have to show them something this year. He's going to have to show them something next year. And, that might be the extent of it, right? So he may, if it works out for him in San Francisco, you've certainly got a front office there that has the ability to take chances, much like they did with Brock Purdy, who's going into, the first. There's ways to look at that. But when you're Purdy and your cap hit is huge, you do want to save money on a backup. You end up in that situation. So for Nathan, he never played or never got to the right place at the right time. Maybe this year Jacksonville would have been a better situation for him to go into. Well, kind of seen enough progression in the last 2 years, but 2 years ago when Nathan was there was no chance, ever, right? So it's right place at the right time is really what it's all about. And if you're Saskatchewan, I think it was a good investment because if he comes north, he'll be a great CFL quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. Why not try it? Now, it's interesting how Canadians and Americans think very differently about sports and sports teams because, and what I mean by that is a lot of people will say, well, the CFL isn't as good as the NFL. And in the United States, the U.S. college football is the second most popular sport to the NFL in the country. It's ahead of U.S. college football is more popular than the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, because people realize how entertaining it is. It's the same with March Madness. Is March Madness the caliber of the NBA? No. Is March Madness as entertaining as the NBA? Yes. And even more so in certain respects. And that's what bugs me about people that keep comparing the two because it's really all about entertainment value, is it not, Farhan? And the CFL quite often has more entertaining games than the NFL.
And I think also there's the element of the package, right? And if you look at the NCAA, it's packaged very much like the NFL. You see games in front of full stadiums with 60, 70, 80,000 people, 100,000 people in Tennessee and Michigan and And people get excited about that. When that many people are there, it adds to the big timeness of it. Even before the players started getting paid, like we've seen in the last couple, it mattered. There's also traditions attached to it. And in the United States, like you go to a high school game in certain parts of the country, and you're going to get 15,000 at the high school game, right? Because there's still a high quality in terms of the level of play of what's going on. So, it's very, very differently on so many levels. So, the Canadian Football League is a highly entertaining product. I'm not going to sit here and say it's more entertaining than the game. They have their great games on any given weekend. They've got their bad games on any given weekend. So I don't want to make a big, broad brushstroke and say one league is better than the other.
No.
They both have a lot to offer. And for those people that don't like the CFL, I wish you gave both a chance, because for me, I'm all about the rest of it.
Yeah.
I could go down the street and watch Pop Warner football and I'd be entertained, believe me. So, or watch Regina Minor football with my good friend Len Antonini, which he runs. I could go do that, and I would be fully entertained by that product as well.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's get to some CFL. I asked you last week if Bob Dice could be in any trouble in Ottawa. You didn't really think so, but you were right, because today Red Black General Manager Sean Burke gave him a vote of confidence. Despite only winning one game. That's sort of what you expected, didn't you? Because you think highly of Bob Dice as well, do you not?
Well, I do, but more than anything like that, I just think there's got to be some fairness around the situation, right? And Sean Burke and Mark Gowdy and the people at OSEG know that as much as everybody else. So they want to win, but that team's had 18 players on the injured list, and so many of them on the offensive side of the ball. They're slowly going to start getting those guys back, but you haven't had your quarterback for 3 games, 4 games almost, right? And that hurts in this league. And, and unfortunately for Ottawa, that's been the story for a while. When you were Paul Lapalisse, he didn't have healthy quarterbacks. And, we know what happened with Jeremiah Masoli and the Garrett Marino thing and all of that, and it did to his career. So I just think they want to be fair in their evaluation. And they've got a guy like Rick Campbell, and people say, well, you got an experienced head coach right there who can take the job. I don't think that's why they brought Rick. Right, like that was Bob Dice's decision to go bring Rick Campbell to have him do the special teams. That wasn't Sean Burke or the owner's decision. So I just think they want to be fair to him, given what he's been dealing with this roster. And we'll see. But they're on fine margins, right? Like you lose that game to Hamilton 2 weeks ago, and it was a game you absolutely should have won. And then you play them a second time at home, and now you're not even close because you lose your quarterback. I mean, it's a tough world to live in for sure.
Well, lots of headshots going on, and Zach Claros is back. He's practicing first-team offense in Winnipeg. He's going to be starting in Toronto. I guess what he said when he first came back to practice, I believe yesterday, was he didn't feel there was consistency on the calls from the referees on high hits on the quarterbacks. What do you think about that? Would you agree with that?
I think the league is working in the right direction, right? And, and I had the same conversation with people in Ottawa about the Drew Brown hit. People were like, well, how was he even in the game? Why was he not ejected? Well, you rarely see a play in-game that leads to an ejection between the whistles, right? Something has to happen after the whistles for a player to get ejected. The fact that this year they've made the change where they're able to add a personal foul from video review, and they're able to make it a grade 2, which is a 25-yard penalty, and no half the distance. You can take it right to the 1-yard line, regardless of where it happens. I think those are steps in the right direction. So I don't know that you're ever going to get complete consistency on any level of officiating in any sport. I think the CFL job for officials is harder than it is in the NFL because the field is so much bigger, and they've just got to cover more space and more players. Like I get what Zach is saying, and he's certainly sensitive to the subject because he's been through it more than any quarterback in the league right now. And there have been moments in his case where it's been inconsistently applied. But I do think overall the league's taking steps in the right direction. You can't just, it doesn't just happen instantly, right? Like there are steps, and is this enough to deter behavior? Great. If it isn't, then we got to take the next step. But right now I think it's going the right way.
Okay, one last question. The Alway hit on Kadeem Carey. You must have got a good view of that because it was right by where you were doing your reporting on Saturday night. Now, how did you look, or how did you see that hit? I mean, it was a very violent hit, but is it a point of you can have very violent hits that are within the rules of the game?
Oh, for sure, right? And I mean, look, the Drew Brown hit, while there was helmet-to-helmet contact, I looked at the hit by Amos, and in my opinion, he was trying to drop his head to hit him in the chest, but he still hit him in the face mask. Now that hit looks so much more spectacular because Drew Brown didn't have his helmet done up properly, right? He had the top chin strap done on both sides. Didn't have spectacular, and are we as upset about it? And there were multiple people involved in that Kadeem Carey hit. Deontay Williams was among them, and it was very much a bang-bang hit. I didn't think it was illegal. I'm not sure a lot of people, as far as the riders are concerned, thought it was illegal, but it certainly was spectacular. And what was amazing to me was that Kadeem Carey, I mean, there was a dislocation. We were literally grossed out when we saw it. Because I was close to it, to your point. But people looked at it and took a knee and began praying instantly, and yet he didn't want to be hard, and he didn't even want to be stabilized. And that was a severe injury, right? I can't see him ever play this year. And certainly they put him on, because he held back and forth twice, and they came with such. So I would look at that hit and say it was necessarily outside the rules of play.
Farhan, enjoy your beautiful view of the ocean and try not to swim too often while you're heading to another NFL camp. But thanks for joining us.
My feeling Carey is not because I'm from Vegas. Kadeem Carey is as good a person as there is in this game, and I wish him nothing but the best. So regardless of what uniform you are, I think the world's kind of how I grade that particular play.
Okay, I'm sure he'll.
Next time I'll bring a surfboard. I'll bring a surfboard next time.
Okay, have a good trip there, Farhan. Sportscage continues in just a moment.
This is Country Gold with Steve Harmon, your home for the country hits of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
Hello, I'm Steve Harmon, inviting you to join me for Country Gold. Each week we play country favorites from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and we check in with the stars who made them, too. This weekend on Country Gold.
Country Gold, brought to you by Trent Dickin and his experienced team at Flooring Superstore. Saturday mornings at 6 and Sunday afternoons at 4 on the Voice of Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.
The Regina Rams have been a football club since 1954, a team built on grit, pride, and tradition. With 70 seasons under their belt, the Rams' legacy runs deep, impacting thousands of fans, players, coaches, and families. You don't have to go far to find someone who has a connection to the team, a memory, a moment, and a story to tell. Join us for the Rams' 71st season. Whether it's your first game or your 100th, this year's story is still being written. Get your game tickets today at reginarams.com. It's football time. Go Rams.
Howdy, Wood Country Woody here. I've always thought that deck railings should be a little more than a way to keep yourself from falling into the hydrangeas. They should add style and class. They should be Regal aluminum railings from Wood Country. These bad boys come with LED lighting options that allow you to change the color and the mood at the touch of a button and at the best price around. Regal aluminum railings from Wood Country.
Your home is your castle.
In McLean, Estevan, and Tisdale. Wood-country.com.
Bidding is now open for the timed online farm equipment auction for Rylan Weir and Adam Corrigan of Nanner, Saskatchewan. Register to bid at macauctioncompany.com. Up for auction, Ford Versatile 846 four-wheel drive tractor, a Versatile 875, Case IH 1101 swather, a Seedhawk 40-foot air drill, a John Deere 4450, and 1,740 round and square hay bales. Bidding closes this Thursday, July 24th at 10 a.m.
If you've got a Steelcraft garage door, you've got a door with parts manufactured and assembled right here in Canada. A door with better insulation and seal, plus a warranty you're probably never going to use. And if you don't have a Steelcraft garage door, you should get one. Don't just hang a door, install a Steelcraft. Turn curb appeal into curb envy.
Steelcraft Door, Steelcraft Door, Steelcraft Door. We offer more.
Steel-craft.ca.
Get it hot, get it fast. Western Pizza.
Dinner served.
What's this?
Pizza.
Looks like cardboard.
It is. Cut into a circle.
What?
Hope you're hungry.
You wouldn't order cardboard for dinner, and that's not what you get when you order from Western Pizza.
Think I'll order Western Pizza.
They've got their pizza down to perfection. Western Pizza. Big on toppings, big on taste. Dine in or takeout. Order today.
And get it hot, get it fast. Western Pizza.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it.
I don't even know.
That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
Hey, I just got Wi-Fi down here.
Oh, just down there in the corner by your mouse hole in the wall?
It's from Glasser's TV, your SaskTel authorized dealer. You should get it too.
I do. My entire house here is blanketed in fast, reliable Wi-Fi while getting security and safety tools to help me manage my connected home.
It covers all that space up there?
It sure does. In fact, I have enough to cover your space down there too, if I wasn't planning on setting a trap for you.
Oh.
Contact Glasser's TV, your SaskTel authorized dealer in Moosomin today.
Country Corner is brought to you by EMF Market Mall. Open Thursday to Sunday at 1217 Broad Street. Look for EMF Market Mall on Facebook.
620 CKRM is proud to support the Gateway Music Festival in Bengoff this Friday and Saturday. The Washboard Union, Jake Vaudeland and the Sturgeon River Boys, Nice Horse, and many more. Tickets and camping at gatewayfestival.com. Head down to the North Dakota State Fair and catch Luke Bryan on the grandstand this Saturday night, July 26th. Check out all of the details at ndstatefair.com. And the Synergy 8 Drive for Kids campaign is August 28th at Prairieland in Saskatoon. This year's celebrity guest is Canadian pro golfer Corey Connors. It's all in support of the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital. Synergy8.ca.
For more information, visit 620ckrm.com. It's time for the Sports Ticker.
And the Sports Ticker brought to you by Extreme Hockey and Sport. Whatever your sport is, Extreme Hockey has you covered, including on top of your head, because Extreme Hockey has a Bauer clear out right now on select helmets, 25% off while supplies last. And of course, hockey just around the corner now. It's hard to believe that the summer's going by so fast. Of course, the Blue Jays once again hosting the Yankees for the third night in a row. They've split the first two games. Currently in the American League East, the Blue Jays are leading with a 3-game lead over the Yankees, so a big game tonight. Sportscage continues in just a moment.
We are 620 CKRM, a Harvard media station, streaming online at 620ckrm.com.
It's 5 o'clock. Good evening. I'm Corey Atkinson from the SaskToday.ca newsroom with your 620 CKRM news for Echo Sound and Fort Qu'Appelle. Stay connected with a new cell phone from Echo Sound. Call 306-332-6711. A corrections officer has been charged with trafficking illicit drugs into a Regina jail. RCMP say the 44-year-old man worked at the Regina Provincial Correctional Centre. Mounties say a 36-year-old inmate was charged with possession for the purpose of trafficking and conspiracy before investigators learned the accused had an accomplice both inside and outside the institution. A 35-year-old woman has also been charged with conspiracy to commit an indictable offence. New numbers show Saskatchewan's oil and gas sector keeps lowering greenhouse gas emissions. A report from the Ministry of Energy and Resources says emissions dropped 71% since 2015 and 13% since last year. The drop comes from companies burning gas instead of venting it and using the gas as fuel. Minister Colleen Young says this shows the plan is working. The province has already passed its target for cutting oil and gas emissions ahead of 2025. The boards of Connexus, Cornerstone, and Synergy credit unions say the new merged credit union will keep the Connexus name. Members voted over 85% in favor of merging last month. Connexus is respected and well known in Saskatchewan, according to board chairs. Selena Philpott, the current Connexus CEO, will lead the new credit union when it starts on January 1st. The new Connexus will serve over 200,000 members, have 57 branches, and manage $15 billion in assets. Canada's premiers have wrapped up their 3-day meeting covering topics like the U.S. trade war, healthcare, and immigration. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says the premiers need Canada's immigration system to be more responsive to market and economic needs.
In the meantime, Canada's premiers agreed to work together to use our authorities under Section 95 of the Constitution, including to issue our own work permits. I'll speak for Ontario. We will be issuing our own work permits.
The premiers also called on the federal government to improve the country's relationship with China in the face of the ongoing trade war with the United States. And BC Premier David Eby says 3 miners have been trapped underground after an accident at a gold and copper mine in the province's northern interior. Eby released the news at the end of the Premier's gathering in Ontario, saying that his province is in contact with the owner of the Red Chris mine that is working with mine rescue experts. Eby says the 3 miners are believed to be uninjured and sheltering in a refuge area.
The company is working with our world-leading mining rescue teams. BC miners are the best in the world. Our rescue teams are exceptional, and they will be working overtime to bring these workers home safely to their families.
2 of the trapped miners are from BC, while the 3rd is from Ontario. That was your 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
Way to go, Travis Kelce. Son.
As fun as it is watching your 5-year-old run the wrong way or pick dandelions on the football field, what if I told you you could watch your favorite sports or shows on the go anywhere? Well, you can with MaxStream TV from Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer. Take MaxStream anywhere you go.
Oh, wrong way, buddy.
MaxStream and great internet plans available at Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer in Fort Capel, echosound.ca.
Let's get out on the water. Now is the best time of year to buy a boat or pontoon at Kevin's Marine. Cast a line in a Lund fishing boat. Take the family out on a Four Winds boat. Or head out on a pontoon by Harris or Crest. Powered by Mercury Motors at the lowest prices of the year. There are manufacturer's rebates, dealer discounts, and low payment financing on a great selection of boats and pontoons. Plus Shoremaster aluminum docks and lifts. Kevin's Marine in Fort Capel. Enjoy your summer. Get out on the water. Stop by or shop online at kevinsmarine.com.
Precision Weather brought to you by Line-X Regina, Serious Protection, Killer Looks, 1865 McCarra Street, and Croft Electric, 27 years of trusted, reliable home, farm, and commercial service for all electrical needs. CroftElectric.com and all socials.
We will continue to see poor air quality through the night and at least into the early part of the day on Thursday, but a general improvement is likely for later Thursday and on into the weekend. Temperatures, though, also heading up into that stretch. Overnight, though, a cool night. We'll see single digits in most areas as a mainly clear sky takes hold. A bit of smoke causing some filtering of the sky, hazy conditions. And through the day on Thursday, it remains a bit hazy, but mostly sunny. The high around 26. Wind from the south to southwest at 10 to 20. The wind will pick up a bit more for Thursday night and Friday. Clear sky, 17 Thursday night, and mostly sunny, 29 on Friday. Winds 20 to 35 kilometers per hour, could even gust higher. Very slight chance of a pop-up storm to the evening Friday. Generally dry, though, and Saturday is sunny and 28. Showers become more likely as Sunday goes on. The high, 27. With your 620 CKRM weather forecast, I'm Precision Weather Meteorologist Phil Spivak.
Croft Electric. You've probably heard of us because we've been around for over 27 years. We do commercial and residential work? Yes. We do permanent holiday lighting? Yes. We do cabins? Yes. And farms? Yes and yes. We're an authorized Generac generator dealer. We are a full-service electrical company with the experience and the people to service all of your electrical needs. We are Croft Electric. We will be here when you need us. Do it right, do it once. Follow us on all social and call 306-586-1333 to book.
When you want the best for your truck, you want Line-X. Your truck has withstood the harshest elements Saskatchewan has thrown at it. Rocks, gravel, rain, sleet, and snow, and left with no chips, no rust. Line-X protective coating keeps your truck's bed liners, rocker panels, and bumpers looking like brand new. Don't settle for Brand X. Go with Line-X. It's serious protection. Come see why everybody loves taking their truck to Line-X Regina for their rocker panels, bumpers, and more. Line-X. Make your truck complete. 1865 McCarra Street.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rnpchevrolet.com today. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
And it's Don Hewitt filling in for Sports Cage. Barney and Sharky will be back tomorrow. One of my favorite people on earth, I can definitely say in all truthfulness, is Rob Vanstone, who's a Rough Rider statistical genius. He's a genius in everything that he does, including dog handling and looking after a dog. He can do it all, and he's going to do it all here for the next half hour because he's going to help me interview Barry Trapp as he enters the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame in about 5-6 minutes, and that's going to be fun. I really felt great about Rob joining me on this because he's a big Barry Trapp fan, as everybody is a Barry Trapp fan. But talking about fans, Rob, he's finally getting some recognition the last day or two, but what a season Trevor Harris is having. I mean, 76.7% completion rate last Saturday in Vancouver. That's nuts. 395 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, a grade of 93. Trevor is the top graded quarterback in the CFL for the 2025 season. I ask you this, the way he's playing at 39, to me, he can play at 40 because he's the man that time forgot. I mean, it's I don't know if he found the time machine and dialed it back like Back in the Future or what he did, but he's playing sensational football for the Rough Riders right now.
Well, you have to take into account, Don, and thank you for the kind words, his odometer. And yes, he's 39 years old. He was born 19 days after I started my career at the leader post. And you'd been working in the industry much longer than I had, so we're both still here, Don. I'm very proud of that. But he didn't start getting a lot of playing time in professional football until he was 29 years old. It was 2015. He was with the Toronto Argonauts, and one of his big breakthrough games was against the Rough Riders. It was a 42-40 game at Old Mosaic Stadium when he and Kevin Glenn had a real classic shootout type of game. And so you look at what a lot of quarterbacks have done by the time they're 27 years of age or 29 years of age, and there's a lot of stats beside their name by that point. But in Trevor's case, that was his big break, which was when Toronto in 2015. So yeah, he's 39, but how much tread is left on the tires? I would say a lot. And I don't think that's much of a stretch when you look at the way he is playing. It's been simply amazing to watch. And you've got the professor label, and I think that could also apply to Trevor Harris with how he approaches the game of football. He's so analytical and so smart about everything, and I think that's manifested on the field as well.
Well, yeah, and he's obviously, if he wants to, when he's done, he'd be a great coach in the CFL. There's no doubt about that, but I don't think he's done at the age of 39. It doesn't look like it. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of other players that are grading really well in their positions in the PFF, which is basically just an analytic, and that's Caleb Sanders, defensive tackle for the Rough Riders, and Malik Carney. They're also, if you like analytics and you believe in it, which I do, they're grading out tremendously, Rob.
They are, and the defensive line as a whole has graded out well. And it's tough sometimes. And I was talking to Micah Johnson about this last week. If you look at some of the more conventional metrics, and you're looking at sacks, sometimes that's not a real indicator of the caliber of a defensive lineman, because it is so much tougher to sack a quarterback the way offenses are designed these days. There's so many quick developing plays, and there's so many 3-step drops and 5-step drops, and the passes are almost in some cases are like it's kind of the West Coast offense philosophy in a way where there's a lot of short, efficient passes. And if you look at Trevor's case, I mean, he wasn't sacked last week against BC. He's really tough to get to. A lot of the credit there can go to the offensive line. A lot of credit can go to Mark Mueller and how his plays are conceptualized. But Trevor gets rid of the ball so fast. And if he's going to get rid of the ball within 2 seconds, Joe Green in his prime couldn't get to him. And so sack totals sometimes aren't the greatest metric. And but I think if you just look at the way the Rough Riders defensive line is performing and the way those players in particular are performing, I would submit that PFF is pretty accurate with regards to evaluating their play and that of others.
Absolutely. And A.J. Allen, a shout out to him as well. While he was known as the Trapper and still is, at the age of 83, Barry Trapp is being inducted into the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame Saturday in Regina. As you well know, Rob, as a player, Barry played for the Melville Millionaires, then off to the American Hockey League's Rochester Americans as a professional. He played hockey in places like Denver and Tulsa, then came home to Balcarres, and it wasn't long before he was back in hockey with the Pat Capitals and Canadians, Regina Bat Blues, and of course the Pats. In 85-86, Barry became the head coach and general manager of the Moose Jaw Warriors, then the director of scouting for Hockey Canada, chief scout for the NHL's Central Scouting System, 4 years in charge of amateur scouting for the Maple Leafs, and worked for the Phoenix Coyotes. Then, because he's such a nice guy, he went back to the Pats and helped them out one more time. 62 years, Barry. 62 years in competitive hockey, where people don't like each other, and yet they like you. How did you manage to be in that sport for 62 years and everybody liked you?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's awesome to talk to two old friends, I'll tell you. And I just want to thank both you guys for how kind you were to me when I was involved. And I also got a very nice text message from an old friend, Greg Drennan, today. So it's nice to be associated with old friends. You know, it's looking back on it, guys. It's amazing how it all started out. Just applying for an ad in the Leader Post. Hey, Rob, the Leader Post.
Yay, Leader Post.
Regina Commuter Boys Hockey League. We're looking for a coach to work on the weekends with the midget A team. So I sent in my resume. And then Doug and I, my son, we went to Regina Community Boys Hockey League banquet, and at the door was Bob Strum. And he was there, and he was greeting, wanted to meet the young kids, and I introduced myself, and he said, are you the guy that sent in that resume to the Regina Boys Community League? And I said, yeah. He said, I like your resume, and the only thing on it was my playing days, and I'd also been a level 5 instructor with Hockey Canada. So he said, could you come to the Agrodome, the old Agrodome, tomorrow? I said, sure. Right there, he offered me the job of coaching the Pat, starting with the Pat Capitals, and that's how it all started, guys.
Go ahead, Rob.
I mean, I remember the 83-84 Pats, and Strummer was the head coach and GM, and you were such an integral part of that. And just there's so many milestones in your career. I'm almost embarrassed just to point to one, but that's where I got to know of you and eventually to meet you was in your work with the Pats and in the Western Hockey League.
Yeah. Also, Rob, at the same time, you and the great Bob Hughes was with the Leader Post, and the coverage with the Regina Pats was amazing. We used to, how things have changed, used to have a media night and invite all the media in, give them the team jackets and stuff like that. So, yeah. You know what, Bob Strum, I worked for him for 5 years. Never signed a contract. Everything was a handshake. And he was very honest, and I got everything that he promised me.
That doesn't different nowadays. Me. I've always admired and liked the people where their word is their bond. And, in the profession that I pursued, I mean, it was absolutely essential. I mean, if you gave your word to somebody, that say, okay, I will protect your identity, or if you assure someone that it's confidential, or if you assure someone that it's off the record, a conversation is off the record, if you ever betray that, the repercussions are endless because word gets around. And and I think Don's preface was so perfect. I mean, how many people, have the kind of reputation that you do, Barry? And over 62 years in hockey industry, you'd think you'd make one enemy, but I can't think of one. You'd think you'd almost do it by accident, and it's something to admire and something to envy. I probably made 6 enemies just during this conversation. So
I think, Rob, the big key for me was associating with all the media, like being with Hockey Canada and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I found out you had to be honest with the media. I never lied to them, and I think that was the key to it. And that, to me, that was important. And I made so many great connections over the years, like including you two. But I can say one thing honestly: CKTV and the Leader Post is not the same without you two guys. I read the Leader Post every day online. First, I go to sports, and then I got to go check the obituary and see how many of my friends I lost.
It's
very. The Post is so fortunate now to have Taylor Shire and Daryl Davis, and
Daryl's amazing. Yeah,
I was going to talk to you about back in your American Hockey League days, Barry, because that was before expansion. Of course, the NHL expanded in '67. You played before that when it was so difficult to make the NHL with only the original 6. Everybody used to say, when you played in the American Hockey League, all of those guys really should have been in the NHL, should they not have? I mean, the caliber of hockey in that league then was incredible. It was just that there weren't enough teams to be able to play for in the NHL.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Don. Like in Rochester, we were the #1 farm team for the Leafs. We had Jerry Cheevers in goal, Al Arbor, Mike Walton, all those, Johnny McMillan, all those guys, Jerry Eamon. I mean, it was only 6 teams, but I'll tell you what, the money back then, Don Jury played with us, and that's how he got his nickname. He was such a miserable guy back then, we called him Sour Grapes, and it shortened it to Grapes.
Well, was he as tough as he pretended to be on TV?
No, he had a heart as big as gold, and he was a true Canadian. Now, when I was with the Pats, I got him to come out to one of our Pat breakfasts, Rob, which you remember. Then I was in Moose Jaw, I called him, and he came out and spoke at the Warrior banquet. No, he's a true Canadian, loved Canadian hockey, and he's a great man, and I had a lot of respect for him.
I mean, if you look at it back then, I mean, there were 6 NHL teams. Now there's 5 times as many. All the players who could have had 10, 12, 15-year NHL careers and maybe didn't even get a sniff in the National Hockey League. You look at it at one time before teams were required to have 2 goaltenders, and it wasn't until the mid-'60s that a backup goaltender became mandatory. I mean, there were 6 goaltending jobs at the highest level of hockey.
Yeah,
6.
and
you
Rob,
had Sawchuk, you had Bauer, you had Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys weren't moving anywhere.
And you know what, Rob and Don, the backup goalies on those teams were the trainers. Like Lefty Wilson in Detroit. And the 67 draft, I got drafted out of the Toronto organization by LA. And the minimum salary back then was $12,500. And we had a meeting. LA were training in Guelph, Ontario. And Terry Sawchuk, I also got drafted out of the Leaf organization. He said, we had a Saturday afternoon off. He said, hey, guys, we're going to have a meeting upstairs in the Legion this afternoon. You got this young lawyer I want you to meet. And I sat in the first player meeting with Alan Eagleson, believe it or not.
Wow. That's
And
crazy.
It's a
He was a
great trivia
charmer.
question. Who's the first goalie in the history of the Los Angeles Kings? And people will say Sawchuk, but it was Wayne Rutledge. Sawchuk
Wayne
was
Rutledge,
injured for the start of the
Oh.
67-68 season.
Yeah. Can't beat
That's
you
amazing.
on stats, man.
No, nobody can beat Rob on stats. You know, over 62 years, I mean, so many memories, Barry. I don't know why it took the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame so long to put you into it, but who would you count as your best friends, the best people you got to know over 62 years up? Who are some of the people that would rise to the surface as people you really liked and admired and appreciated their friendship?
Well, starting out, of course, Bob Strome. Secondly, would be Jim Gregory, who hired me in the NHL. My friend Pat Quinn, who hired me with the Leafs, and Pat Quinn and I, believe it or not, were line mates and teammates in Tulsa. There's so many. Bob Nicholson, Hockey Canada. You know what? There's so many people that were so good to me, and lost a lot of them already. But you know, they were very honest people. I mean, they were people that appreciated what you did, and I think what's lost now is the I don't know. There's too many teams. It's good for the players. There's no doubt. Gives every kid a chance, but the honesty and the thing, the people. Back then we had no computers. It was word of mouth. You know, we traveled, and the biggest thing for me was when I went to work for Hockey Canada. I got a real wake-up call because I never realized how important hockey was in Canada. I mean, from Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean. When you go to a midget A hockey game, playoff. Excuse me, in the Maritimes, 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, there's 3,500 people in the rink. Amazing.
Yep. The fabric of the country, really, hockey. Now, are you sort of sad that, I mean, let me put it this way. Are people as honest now in the game of hockey as they were a few decades ago or 3 decades ago?
I think it's totally different. I look at the coach firings and that are going on in the NHL now, and there's a lot of good coaches and friends of mine that have been fired. Mike Babcock, you know, like, gee, sir, you know that it seems to me like what has happened now, the coach is always the first guy to go, and the coach is only as good as the players, the management and staff get them, but there's no, like, I remember Billy Martin. And you love this, Rob. When he was coaching the Yankees, they said, how do you feel? How's your security? He says, I come to Yankee Stadium every day. I park my van headed out of town, and I leave the motor running.
Well, Rob, you got the last question.
It's totally changed in terms of, I mean, there was a time when the coaches and the GMs had so much power, and the players had off-season jobs in many cases, even at the National Hockey League level, and because there were so few jobs and so few teams, you know, they held the fate of players in their hands. And now when you look at what the players are making and the long-term contracts and no trade clauses and the guaranteed contracts, etc., I mean, it is totally flipped, and I think that probably lends itself to the coaches being more expendable or deemed to be more expendable than the players, whereas once upon a time there was that absolute and in many cases unfettered power.
Well, the thing is too, Rob, I agree to 100%, but back in the American Hockey League, the only thing you got, if you got beat out in the first round of the playoffs, you got home to get the better jobs that were available. The longer you went in the playoffs, there was a joke that if you got beat out in the first round, you got, what the advantage was, you got to get the first jobs. The worst other thing was you couldn't drink bottled beer; you only could drink draft beer because it was cheaper.
Well, congratulations, Barry, on your induction into the Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame on Saturday. I thank you for joining us. I thank you, Rob, for also joining us to talk to Barry. As Sportscage continues in just a moment.
Thank you, guys.
620 CKRM is your home to country's greatest hits and the 90s at 9. 1 full hour featuring the biggest hits of the 90s. Garth, Reba, Alan, Shania, George, and so much more. No cassette tape or CDs required, and 90s mullets are optional. 90s at 9 for the town of Wolseley and the voice of Saskatchewan. 620 CKRM.
Great, my basement flooded and now my contractor says I have to use his flooring guy.
Whoa, that's not how it works. You can choose where to go, not him, not his buddy Doug.
Seriously?
Heck yeah! At Flooring Superstore, we've been helping people with insurance claims for over 20 years. Homes, farms, businesses, cabins, no kickbacks, just solid advice.
Flooring Superstore, quality floor coverings at the best price. FlooringSuperstoreRegina.ca.
The ball is snapped. He scans the field. He's going deep. What a play! Rider fans, make your own great play by going to riders5050.ca. You can now buy tickets for every Rider game, home or away. You can also sign up for the 50/50 Club and never miss a draw, including the weekly loyalty and early bird prizes. All proceeds support amateur football in Saskatchewan, equipping the heartland, and just maybe score a big win. Get your tickets today at riders5050.ca and go Riders! Riders 50/50 is presented by ISC.
Sask Power is working to improve the power system in your area. In order to do their work safely, they need to shut the power off for customers in the village of Buchanan from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Thursday, July 24th, weather permitting. Again, the power will be out for 4 hours on Thursday, July 24th from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for customers in the village of Buchanan. For updates on this outage, visit saskpower.com/outages. Sask Power apologizes for the inconvenience and thanks you for your patience.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it.
I don't even know.
That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
If you've got a Steelcraft garage door, you've got a door with parts manufactured and assembled right here in Canada. A door with better insulation and seal, plus a warranty you're probably never going to use. And if you don't have a Steelcraft garage door, you should get one. Don't just hang a door, install a Steelcraft. Turn curb appeal into curb envy.
Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door. We offer more.
Steel-craft.ca.
Get it hot, get it fast, Western Pizza.
Some say the number 13 is bad luck, like walking under a ladder. Well, 13 is a very lucky number when you're talking Western Pizza, like their delicious 13-inch pepperoni from Western Pizza. That makes it, well, the luckiest number of all. Western Pizza, big on toppings, big on taste. Dine in or take out. Order today.
And get it hot, get it fast, Western Pizza.
It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Steelcraft Doors Regina, made in Western Canada for Western Canadians.
And it's Don Hewitt filling in for Barney on the Sports Cage. The Sports Ticker, atop of the second inning, the New York Yankees are leading the Toronto Blue Jays 1-0. The Jays, of course, 3 games up atop the AL East on the Yankees. As we speak, there's 2 out and a man on first base. Other games, mid-forwards, Baltimore over Cleveland, 1-0. Top of 2, Philadelphia leads Boston 3-0. Of course, the ticker brought to you by Steelcraft Doors in Regina, made in Western Canada for Western Canada. And Sports Cage will continue in just a moment.
Farm equipment keeps getting bigger and bigger, so the doors on your farm buildings have to keep up. Hi, I'm Terry from Zipperlock Building Company. At Zipperlock, our buildings can accommodate up to a 24-foot high door without expensive changes to the building's steel arch design. So when it comes to farm equipment storage, Zipperlock is head and shoulders above the competition. Zipperlock Building Company, built in hours to last a lifetime. See us in Raymore or call 1-888-692-5515.
On your mark, get set.
No! Farming can be a race, and no farmer wants to be unprepared for seeding. Dutch Ag wants to make sure you're ready for next season now